it all up, inviting Dr. Bhuvneswari Balasubramanian, Country Director, GAIN India, to deliver the welcome address and set the context for deliberations today. Bhuvna, over to you.
Thank you, Smriti, for that brilliant context setting. And I want to take the opportunity to welcome all the speakers on the dais and the speakers that would follow post the plenary session. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today, and the brilliant audience that we have. Like Smriti said, there is a lot of experience, there's a lot of wisdom, there's a lot of expertise that is there in this room. And we are very keen to leverage that as we move forward for this first half of the day, with potentially insights coming from each of you in the world of work that you do on what is it that we could take forward together as a nation as we build climate resilient food systems, which is the need of the hour. When we talk resilience, I think resilience is very relevant given the time and the way things are in the world. We need to build resilience, and not just about talking about the programs that we do or the people that we work with, but in every way that we as development sector partners work as we move forward. There is a lot of uncertainty in the work that we do, and it's even more important for us to be innovative and to sort of come together in platforms like this and show that multi-stakeholder partnerships and joint efforts can move things at a much bigger level. Like, for instance, the sum of all parts is definitely greater. So without much ado, I'll just have a brief. Okay, thank you. So I just have a brief presentation on why we wanted to have this deliberation on building resilience in building in developing food, climate resilient food systems, and that had to do with a bit of work that GAIN did with support from Ministry of Agriculture, and some of the deliberations that we've heard, for instance, from Dr. Lakshmi's work not so long ago, and of course some of the partners here continue to inspire us in this work. I'm not going to speak much to the convert. Everybody's an expert here. So just to basically inform that it's the idea or the challenges around climate change and its impact is real and it's tangible. The effect of it is measured at around $3.7 trillion each year. And its impact or the impact on nutrition is again equally staggering at about $3.5 trillion each year. And we know there is codependency in that relationship, right? There is climate that affects food availability, food accessibility and affordability, and affecting consumption and the nutrition quality of it, affecting the most vulnerable the most. We know that climate change is going to get worse, which affects availability of food. And we know that this is going to push more people into poverty, the ones who are already more vulnerable. And we know that this is going to result in more malnutrition among the vulnerable population. This is going to place a heavy load on the existing systems. For instance, the key, there is a bidirectional relationship between nutrition and climate change, wherein climate impacts systems like the agri-food systems, the water system, the social protection. There's going to be more people relying on social protection. It's going to affect health systems. We've seen that in the early part of this decade where all of us had to be cooped up in our households. We know people that we've lost as a result of the epidemic that haunted us. We also know that the system impacts climate. For instance, there is greater GHG. Food production itself causes about 35% of the greenhouse gas emissions. There's pollution, there's waste, and there's hazardous materials as a result of how systems work. And then maladaptation practices consuming natural resources continue to plague us with, of course, there are solutions that are being tested out, and the ecosystem destruction. sort of feeds into each other and affects the larger outcome when we're talking climate change and malnutrition. There are opportunities to look at integrated action to drive sustainable development. For instance, looking at diversity in food production, shift towards traditional, healthier diets, shift towards diets that are naturally grown and produced in that geographical ecosystem. There are ways to ensure that the social protection provides livelihood opportunities for that geography. There are ways to look at it becoming gender sensitive, health systems gearing up to address environmental impact and also sort of preempting and addressing health system challenges and integrating essential nutrition action. A One Health approach, which India has been talking about as we move to rolling out, interventions that look at animal, environment, and human health as one continuum. These actions can result in mitigating strategies when it comes to climate outcomes and nutrition outcomes, wherein we could look at opportunities to reduce emissions that are resulting as a result of food production, looking at addressing biodiversity and protection of natural resources, and carbon reduction, sequestration, so forth. In terms of nutrition outcomes, this would imply promotion of healthier and diverse diets, prevention of food loss, nutrition loss, safe handling of food, and clean water, to mention a few, and as a result, improving health and nutrition outcomes of people and the planet. What we did briefly is we looked at a subnational mapping of what is the current interaction between climate and nutrition, how much of climate mitigation and adaptation strategies talking about nutrition, and how intentional is that linkage, and vice versa. How much of the nutrition policies at the state and the national level are looking at linkages with climate? I mean, how intentional is it? How well is it articulated? And what we found out was that there is this beautiful intersection that creates opportunities to address climate and nutrition by spotlighting it on agriculture. Agriculture provides that opportunity to address climate challenges and to address nutrition security. And with this, what we wanted to do is to say, where are we? That is to mirror and see where we are, to beacon where do we want to be, and to spotlight who can we learn from. And the findings, I won't go too much into detail, but the findings largely states that, the intersection or the intention interlinkages between climate and nutrition has to substantially improve. We do see a mention in terms of interlinkages, but do we see intention in that interlinkage? No, we don't. So the immediate first step is to recognize that there is a mention of climate, working on climate provides opportunities for improving nutrition security, and looking at nutrition policies with a climate lens enables us to look at certain mitigation opportunities. But then how do we make this intentional is the question that we do really want to pose ourselves. And by intentional, can we articulate, can we look at programs, can we look at investments towards that end, which talks about the work that can happen with agriculture as the center of it by addressing it with a food systems lens to create climate resilience and nutrition security. The work sort of threw in some recommendation which looked at how important data is in terms of driving this information. If we look at the previous slide, the last point, are there any data portal dashboards that are talking about climate and nutrition linkages? We found nothing. I mean, some of our colleagues who helped us with this analysis are also here in this room. And this is something we felt very excited. It has an opportunity to really evolve this further. to look at location and context specific data, and to also look at an infrastructure that can inform us for a context, for a country like India, on what is the assess situation, what could be the potential interventions, and what could the trajectory or the movement look like. Enhancing policy integration by focusing on aligning India's climate goals with agriculture and nutrition policies came out as a very clear finding. We would hear Mr. Patel talk about the Ministry of Agriculture's vision on this as well, and we've heard our finance minister talk more about resilient crops, that they climate resilient crop varieties that they want to promote. Sufficiency, for instance, the pulse mission, we do want to look at creating sufficiency in the production of pulses. So we are looking at it in the right direction. We are asking the right questions, but that intentionality in the intersection of climate, agriculture, and nutrition has to remain relevant as we talk, at the policy level, at the implementation and the evidence generation level. The other part that came out strongly is, of course, cross-sector. Agriculture in itself is so big. Nutrition, it's another big area in itself, and climate is again, so these are three mammoth tasks that sort of are coming together, and it's so important to join hands and see what is possible. It's not going to be very straightforward or easy, but then it's not fun if it is so easy. The other part that came out strongly is capacity building efforts, and at the institutional and community level, I think one of the things that Mr. Patel is going to speak about is how do we empower panchayat level or village level institutions to look at climate resilience, to look at promoting indigenous varieties that are not just high yielding but also nutritionally rich. So these are some of the findings that came out from that, and our subsequent interactions with some of the stakeholders in the space and with the government. What we wanted to, for this, gearing up as a submission to the N4G from India, we wanted to look at, given these findings, can we look at 4 key areas where we would want to have experts' inputs, where we would want to have best practices and insights coming from experts in the field, which could be documented and submitted. And can we look at sort of garnering that momentum in the areas of policy integration, the role of data and technology, gender and climate resilient food systems, and documenting best practices. We definitely are not starting from scratch. There are several examples across states which have shown the promise of innovations and scale. And we do have one such an example with Ms. Lakshmi being here talking about the Andhra Pradesh work in agroecological practices, which we are very excited about. So just to quickly wrap up, these 4 areas are the focus for today's deliberation, and we have slotted about 30 minutes for an open discussion, and we would love to hear your thoughts on how do we create resilience and how do we create innovations across these themes which we could sort of move together with. I'll stop here. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming, and thank you.
Thank you, Bhuvna, for such a crisp context setting. You mentioned resilience. I think resilience is, as development sector partners, our second name and first nature. So I'm sure we should be able to do a lot here. And integrated action, I think that is the key. A key statistic that I noted from your presentation is 82% acknowledgement in the state plans and 7% action. And I often say half the problem is one when you define it. Well, 82% is acknowledging, but 7% actions means we need to have maybe demystified pathways. And I think the this study and the focus, and you're kind of trying to get some structure into the focus, will definitely go a long way in, kind of driving the narrative and demystifying this whole area for action pathways, so that the action is more than 7%, like you said. So Thank you. Without any further delay, inviting Shri R.A.S. Patel, Deputy Commissioner RFS, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, to deliver the keynote address, Accelerating Integration, Aligning Agriculture, Climate, and Nutrition for Improved Policy Landscape in India. And I don't think I can do justice to his introduction for his such an accomplished personality. No words I use can match up to his experience and achievements. So let's hear from him. But first, a big round of applause.
Thank you. Actually, the climate resilient agriculture, one of the basic concept in the Ministry of Agriculture. We have developed one climate resilient agriculture framework also that is under consideration to the ministry. But we have developed one this climate resilient this framework. So, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues and participants, uh, it is honor to be here today as we engage in this crucial discussion on the future of our food system. You know, the climate change is affecting the agriculture. So it is a global phenomena, or it is not affecting only India, but across the world. So for the climate, addressing the climate change, there are two ways. One is the adaptation policy, and second is the this no climate this adaptation policy, and second is one is the adaptation, and second okay. So we go through the programs of Ministry of Agriculture for the climate adaptation policy. So there are several schemes in the government of India which addresses the issue of the climate change. Basically, climate change affects the soil, affects the water, means whatever the natural resources are there, it affects all these no natural these natural resources. For addressing the soil, there are the various programs, soil health management, soil health cards being implemented by the government of India. One is this natural farming, National Mission on Natural Farming, this no organic farming. All those are being addressed for the maintaining the health of the soil. At the same time, government is promoting integrated pest management, integrated nutrient management, and all those are helping not only the production system but also the nutritional system, nutrition in the food system. So these are the, and for the water management, there are several programs. This one of the basic program of Ministry of Agriculture is the per drop more crop under Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, which addresses the issue of water, because now the scarcity of water for the irrigation, because 80% of the water is used by the agriculture, and there is a shortage of water for the irrigation. So for the efficient water management, Government of India is promoting this per drop more crop, which is promoting the micro irrigation system. So on the micro irrigation system, drip irrigation system, which is used for the wider crops and the crops which having the higher distances, and the sprinkler irrigation system for both the government of India is providing this subsidy. So there are several other programs for the groundwater management, Atal Bhujal Yojana, which promotes in the convergence mode of all the schemes like MG Narega, PDM per drop more crop, and other schemes, so that the groundwater is used for the irrigation in the larger way. So the groundwater is also maintained. So the government of India is promoting through the Ministry of Jal Shakti this Atal Bhujal Yojana to address the water issue of ground. So groundwater, basically, whenever we are using the groundwater, whatever the drawdown from the ground and this recharge from the precipitation, now there is a big difference. We are using more than whatever the recharging to the ground and discharging from the ground. So this need to be addressed because the water is very much crucial for the production system of agriculture. So these are the issues which need to be addressed, and the management of the natural resources like water, soil, and other aspects. You can see for the crop diversification systems, because the climate change is coming through the greenhouse gases. So there are large parts in India which are cultivating this rice, and the through cultivation of rice with flood water, it causes the methane, methane generation from the crops like rice. So government of India is promoting this seeded, direct seeded rice, or SRI, system of rice intensification, which reduces some of the methane emission from the rice cultivation. So we think of about that the one of the this Bhuvneshwari madam is about the capacity building. So capacity building is one of the issues which need to be addressed properly at the village level. And government of India is also having one Atma program through which we teach the villagers for the right crops at the right time. At the same time, there are the programs which one is this Krida, one of our institution, Krida, has developed district-wise contingency plan for all the districts. If suppose there is delay in the delay in the monsoon, so what kind of varieties, seed varieties, and what kind of crops can be grown in that case. So Krida has, it is available in the public domain and in the website of Krida as well as the district headquarters. So farmers, through that, this capacity building, if a farmers knows that there is a delay of monsoon of 15 days, so this variety of crops is not suited for me, so he can go for the another crop, so that his production loss may be maintained. So these are the systems. So there are various schemes which in the ministries like Per Drop More Crop, National Mission for Natural Farming, National Food Security Mission, having this for wheat, for rice, for nutritionals, for pulses, for oil seeds. There is this National Food Security Missions are being implemented, and these is not only for the National Food Security Mission, is not only for the enhancing the production, but also for the nutritional support. So these programs are available with this Ministry of Agriculture, Government of India. But the thing is how to channelize them into the villages at one place, because the schemes are scattered. Some schemes are being taken up in one villages, and some schemes are being taken up in the another villages. So these schemes has to be channelized, and by the capacity buildings and the whatever the this is available, this infrastructure available at the states. So we suppose to form the PMU system at central level, at this state level, as district level, as well as the Gram Panchayat levels. So whatever the Gram Panchayat level, they say watershed development component, one of the Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchay Yojana is meant for the watershed development. They have the village level units, units, as well as in Atal Bhujal Yojana, we have also the units. So at this district level, PMUs should reach to the village level or block level PMUs, and they teach them to channelize all the programs, whether it is from the Ministry of Agriculture, whether it is from Ministry of Rural Development or Ministry of Jal Shakti or Ministry of Panchayati Raj. There are several schemes which are meant for the climate resilient agriculture as well for the nutritional support. So only the things we have to channelize the programs. We have the programs which supports the production, which supports, because you know the production year by year, there is no loss of the production so far. As per our the production of food grains is over 300 million tons. So production, there is no production loss, but we have to manage the things that the production is there, but that is also be nutritionally fit for the consumption. The most vulnerable population in the country are the small and marginal farmers, because they don't have the resources to put in their farm, and they depends on the government support. But most of the farmers don't know how to get these financial support from the government. So the capacity building of the farmers through the Atma schemes or NGOs or from the this public or private sectors is one of the crucial to reach the all those programs to the field levels, means at gram panchayat levels. So these are the things I think, and I hope that the today deliberations, whatever come up, that will help to the farmers as well as to the country for enhancing the production and this nutritional support for the these whatever the vulnerable communities of the country. Thank you.
I must admit the claps did not match up to the broad landscape and everything that was covered. Need to do justice to the work being done. Thank you so much, sir, for great insights. I think the word that you were looking for was mitigation, adaptation, and mitigation. Yeah. Yeah. No, many people prompted. So, yeah. No, so, sir, you rightly said climate change is universal, whether certain people on certain part of the globe acknowledge it or not, but it is real and it is universal and it is affecting agriculture. It is just not an Indian phenomena, but the vulnerability quotient, if I may say, varies, right? And so you mentioned about the small and marginal farmers, and those farmers in India, the vulnerability quotient might vary from the other parts of the globe. Thank you so much, sir, for covering all these issues and also all the wonderful schemes that are in place under the leadership of Honorable Prime Minister. And yes, reaching grassroots, reaching village level, reaching ground zero is where the difference would come and where it is required. And I'm sure technology must be driving a lot of these real time, like you said, the information and the systems. Thank you so much. Let me now invite Dr. Lakshmi Durga to share insights around leveraging multi-sectoral partnerships. So there you go, integrated systems for advancing sustainability and climate action in India. Dr. Lakshmi is a public health and nutrition specialist with over 30 years of experience integrating agriculture, nutrition, and climate resilience. She has led community driven initiatives across India and internationally, influencing policy and scaling sustainable solutions. What a topical address after what Sir set the context and Bhuvna set the context on integration and all the challenges and community based. Ma'am, we want to hear from you. A big round of applause, please.
Good morning, everyone. It's really an honor to present the intersections of the nutrition, climate, and sustainable food systems with the challenges facing related to climate change or in food insecurity. Building resilient systems is not an option, it is a necessity. So with this thing, what I wanted to, as I already mentioned in the experience sharing, in the 30 years of experience, 20 years I spent time on the maternal and child health issues, being in the system, in the government system. But the past 10 years, I started working with the World Bank, looking at how we can integrate health and nutrition in the livelihood programs and in the agriculture sectors. So I'm here today now to share the experience of the Andhra Pradesh, where I involved in the past 5 years in designing, implementing, and monitoring the program. And I'm here, and I think this is the first workshop. We are sharing our results, we just completed in December 24. And I'm excited to share those results. Before I share the results, I just wanted to share the model, what is being done in this project. So most of you this is the one? Yes. Yeah. So I'll just take you through the entire, the model, what we have done it, and before I share the results. So many of you in this room might have heard about the APCNF program, Andhra Pradesh Community Managed Nutrition, the Natural Farming Program, which is being implemented by Raitu Sadhikara Samastha, which is a farmers' welfare society under the Department of Agriculture in the state of Andhra Pradesh. And this is headed by Mr. Vijay Kumar, is the retired IAS officer as an executive vice chairman. And the program started implementing in 2016. And we have reached about 4,000 odd Gram Panchayat. And we closely work with the SAG network and involving about 7,000 village organizations. And we reached about 10.37 lakh farmers and 12.16 acres of the land. So it's not a small thing. Its journey did not happen just in a year or so. So, and we continuously driving the initiatives to reach at least the entire Andhra Pradesh need to cover with these practices. And the important thing in this natural farming is the technology breakthroughs. Any crop can grow anytime. So using this pre-monsoon dry sowing technique and providing small farmers with the anytime models and also the multi-layers, it's most of the times it's only monocropping. So how do we introduce this? Natural farming principles itself includes multi-layering, multi-cropping. So this is another aspect we are looking at it. And drought proofing, especially in some belts there's no rain, nothing So in such a case, what type of things are being to be taken up? And there is a continuous research is going on. What is the science behind this natural farming? So I just wanted to tell you before I talk about the nutrition, this is the context where this project, the designing was done. And most of you people think that natural farming means it's only no synthetics and just bio inputs are being used. Multi-cropping, 365 days green cover is adopted. And also work with it is a peer learning, is involving all the SHG network, the women groups and collective actions. This is how the natural farming the project is being known to many people in the country and outside the country. But in 2019, it was decided to focus not only on the production aspect, changing the behaviors of the farmers, let's also focus on the consumer behaviors. So for that, we started that in a pilot basis. You cannot do this, the household behavior changes just in all the villages. So we have started only in 10% of the villages where the APCNF program is being implemented. So this is we all know that the whole effort of natural farming is improving the soil health, thereby the plant health, and then the human health. So this is helping us to address the issues of the malnutrition. So with that assumption, this multi-sectoral approach has been designed in this project. We all know that there are a lot of benefits from the natural farming. It's less cost, and also the lot of input, like the in terms of the food security, healthy and safe diets, you can get it. But still, the demand is not, the adoption is not that way. So it doesn't happen only with one sector working to address these issues. I think we need multi-sectoral interventions. So in this context, we in 2019, we had discussions and deliberations in the villages and started working on the village health nutrition plans. That's where the vision was developed. So we thought that every household in these villages need to have an understanding and adopt these natural farming for their own consumption, at least to begin with. Then we also, and that means the focus is on the households. Then we also focus on the institutions. There are a number of institutions like Anganwadi centers, schools, and residential hostels where the supplementary food is being supplied. So there also can we influence these households, these institutions with the supply of these things. And another important thing is, though I have a knowledge and have an interest to use the food, the safe food and healthy food, but I don't have the access to all the food commodities. So how do we increase the local production and the local consumption? That's the marketing aspects of it. So these are the few things we kept in mind while designing these interventions. And we did not start our journey in all the villages. Now we are in 400 villages. We started with just 50 villages in 2019. Then in 2022, we expanded to another 70 villages. Then we have gone in 24, we have added another 118 villages. And just in this year, we added another 20. So now we are in 400 villages. And the key objectives are, how do we empower these people with the knowledge and skills on production and consumption of the natural farming foods? And then household behaviors, especially the maternal and infant child feeding practices or wash practices, how do we make them so that we can reduce these illnesses? And also the supply to the institutions, and more focus on the 1000 days target group and also the adolescents and the ultra poor households where they do not have much access. For all these things, we had a good support from the beginning, AP Ajim Premji Foundation, KFW, and also Co-Impact. In addition to that, the Government of India and Government of AP is also providing support for this program implementation. So this is the, based on these vision exercises and all, we have designed, based on the village health nutrition plans, we have designed the 7 key interventions. So I told you that my earlier journey, our focus is more on the nutrition specific interventions, which needs lots of investments. But here the focus is on the nutrition sensitive interventions, which focus on behavior of the households, and they can sustain these interventions beyond the project period also. So the focus is on homestead food production, basically focusing on the perishables which are required for the food plate. And then the food basket, where the focus is on the how do they get the collective procurement of these staple foods, mainly on the non-perishables, into the food plate. Then also the supply to the institutions. They have an MOUs with the farmers. And then the very important thing is, all these are, if you want to implement the nutrition sensitive interventions, we need to work a lot of behavior change related aspects of it. So that's where we started the farmer nutrition schools. How the farmer field schools are started to counsel the farmers to change the practices. Similarly, we started a farmer nutrition school where the cooking demonstrations are being shown, how to prepare the things with the retention of the nutrients, and also local recipes. Lot of millets are available, but nobody knows that how to prepare these things. Lot of vegetables, leafy vegetables are there, but nobody uses that. So that's where more of the behavior change aspects we have taken up in these farmer nutrition schools. And as I mentioned that, though we know that there are a lot of benefits of these natural farming foods, but the adoption is not that much. So we have started the thematic campaign for awareness generation. Specific communication material was developed and systematically taken up these things. And also, though I have an interest, it's not available. All the foods are not available. How do I ensure that all the foods that come to my plate, whether it is a perishable or non-perishable, are chemical free? So unless the production, if the farmers are encouraged to take up for the local production, it's a win-win situation for both the farmer and the consumer. I'll just go back. So the important aspect of it is whatever the intervention that is designed, it's basically under the domestic production integrated with the nutrition advice or a counseling in the natural farming program. This is the simple thing we just adopted that. We don't want to look for the external funding. Let's look at what are the resources that are available locally and add a little bit of nutrition counseling and advice, and which make them even, it influence both the farming and also production and also the consumption aspects of it. So we are trying to improve the institution quality. In these 400 villages, we are reaching about 424 Anganwadi centers, and also 337 schools are being covered in this. Here, wherever the space is available in the schools or Anganwadi centers, they establish the Nutri Garden. Sometimes, if you take the schools, the number of students are more. And with this, just a one Nutri Garden, the production is not sufficient to meet. So what we did was we had an MOU with the natural farming farmers between the school and the farmer, or a school Anganwadi center and a farmer, and they regularly supply. So, but we could not reach the rice and dal, which are being supplied currently through the PDS system. So we are just having plans to how to tackle that also. But currently, these institutions are being supplied with the fruits and vegetables. And of course, I told you about the homestead food production is more on the behavior change we are working on and the community awareness. See, it's all in the context of the climate change. So how is it happening? It's not that I'm going there every village and doing it. We have recruited young graduates and postgraduates in nutrition and food technology from the universities. And they were put in these villages. Every person is in charge of 5 villages and do this internal facilitation. So, and in addition to that, we also build the capacity of the SHG women, selected SHG women as a community resource person who are tagged with these young graduates. And the other technical aspects we are providing from the state office by having technical experts there. So this is what I'm saying, that there are people, we call them as nutrition farming fellows, NFFs, for health and nutrition. And then we have the associates who can guide and at the regional level. And there is a community members. All these master trainers or community resource persons, health subcommittees are all selected from the community and also the SHG members. So with this context, we found that there are few best practices which are giving a great results. Before I share the results, I just need to share with you the homestead food production, how it is empowering the women. And also the food basket, how is it helping them to have more of the protein foods and other nutrients. Then the farmer nutrition school, how it is really helping the household behaviors. Then we also, as I already mentioned, the institutional linkages. The very important thing is the discussions at the SHG and the village organization meetings, dedicated discussions on the NF production and the consumption. So this is what we made it as a mandatory thing, that every facilitator who is there in the project to do this work, they should have their own garden. So either a Nutri garden, an individual garden, or a community garden. From the community garden, mainly if I do not have a space to grow my garden at the backyard, then I get my food from the community garden. So each community garden provides about 10 to 15 families in the villages. And it is being done very systematically. I'll share the protocol, how it was done. And in all the institutions, so far, 76% of the institutions have MOUs and regularly supplying the natural farming produce to these institutions. And 60% of the households, because they have their backyard thing, and it's been happening that. And many times we do have a lot of studies on the kitchen gardens. It's only 4 or 5 things. 4 or 5 vegetables are there only for some season. Please remember that this is the around the year kitchen garden. We have the different models, and these models are being continued in these villages. So this is a protocol. Systematically, they do that. It didn't happen just in a year or so. After 4 years, I'm able to share completely. This is the protocol to be followed to have the results. And they do systematically first month, second month, third month. I will not go into the details, and I can share all these details subsequently. To my surprise, in the recent, I just told you that in December we have conducted the midline survey. Wherever the counseling was added in these natural farming villages, the adoption of these having these homestead gardens or a backyard poultry has been significantly improved. Even the statistical analysis also shows that is a very significant compared to the just village with a natural farming practices. So we should have the nutrition advice is also added to the natural farming. The results are tremendous and is very significant. So the other intervention is the food basket, because homestead provides only the perishables. What about the non-perishables? So what we did was we looked at each household, what are the foods that they are able to get from the market, and we have done a systematic assessment of these households, like, what are the foods, the natural farming foods that are available, that are grown for their family consumption. I'm not talking about their incomes like now. At this point of time, from the health point of view, we're looking at whether they're able to adopt this practice, have some food for their food plate. Then we looked at what are the things that are not available in the household. So we did the whole collective purchase, like the collective indent, SHG wise, we have taken the indent and then had a discussion at the village level. But they are willing to procure. But the thing is, they do not have any access where to do that. Interestingly, in the APCNF program, there is also a marketing wing. They do the mapping of these farmers who supply the produce and supply these natural farming produce. So we given the numbers tagged to these farmers, and they have formed the food basket committees in every village organization, and they get these product from the communities, from the farmers, and supply to the households. So this is how we did that. And then we realized that, and especially the village organization, they realized that there are a lot of things which we can grow in the own village. So instead of buying from the outside market, paying an additional cost for the transportation and all, so they have realized that no. For the time being, we'll get some commodities from outside the market, but from the next seasons, we have to have our own produce in our own villages. Just 3 months in November, December, and January, February, they have identified almost like 700, and they did a crop planning exercise. Who are the farmers coming forward to look at the, they are interested to grow these commodities which are not available in the village. So they came forward around 711. So we were working since 2016 on transformation. But these are simple things which we made the community members to know that this is important, this we can do, and we will be able to make it. So that's how the farmers came forward. This is the one lesson we really got inspired about it. And here what we did was, on a pilot basis, we have given about 50 lakh rupees to one federation at the mandal level, the SHG federation, and to give like 1 lakh per vivo, I would say. So this is a capital infusion given to procure the commodities from the farmers and then distribute. But the member households have to pay the amount on in 2 or 3 installments. So because they got used to that, they are working in the SHGs. So this was done. So we took that as an opportunity and pre-tried. And we felt very happy that we did, like in these villages, 10 villages when we tried, 2,500 villages, almost 60% of the targeted group are able to get these enrolled and pay the things on time. So we are yet to evaluate this program, and for that, I'll share that. And I told you the Farmer Nutrition School, where our focus is on the cooking demonstrations and the recipes. And systematically in the project, we are measuring these indicators to these 4 outcomes what we did. So this is using EpiCollect. We are collecting the data from all these young graduates who are there acting as facilitators. But we did not stop there, and we systematically given this for the external evaluation. So I'm here to share this evaluation results in 2022, we did the baseline with the help of the University of Edinburgh and Public Health Foundation of India. And it's also published in PLOS One in May 2024. Then we did the midline evaluation in 2024. And the technical report, the support is from the AIMS, All India Institute of Medical Sciences from Mangalagiri. So I'm what I shared, the baseline results are already published, and I can all of you can have the access to that. Now I'm presenting the midline results which just came. Still the analysis happening, but I could get some top line the things. And we covered about 24,000 beneficiaries are evaluated in this. So including the pregnant lactating mothers, children under 2 years, and seed to seed farmer means farmers who adopted all the principles of the natural farming. It's not, there are 9 principles. It's not that just one practice adopted, I'm a natural farming. No. So we have taken this seed to seed farmers. That sample we did not take in the baseline, but we included this sample also in the midline. And then the adolescent girls and the ultra poor. So we have covered I think it's a 2-arm design. We did that APCNF plus health and nutrition. And there are other villages which are about to start the health nutrition. We took them as a control, just APCNF. We didn't have any other interventions. So these are the results. If you look at the diet diversity in the baseline, 87% of the households had 5 to 7 food groups. And the underweight in the baseline, it is 28. Now in December, when we did the midline, it's 22.26%. Only in this is with the health nutrition interventions, but only with the health and nutrition APCNF villages, it's only 28.23. But observe that all these figures are much lesser than, better than the NFHS, be it in state figures or compared with the national figures. This is what I wanted to share with you. So the whole effort, the protocols systematically implemented, gave these results. Similarly, for the stunting, you can see that. And another important thing is the minimum acceptable diet. So in EP, the minimum acceptable diet below 2 years, it's only 6.8% of the children are having a good quality diet. In terms of the diversity and also the frequency, adequacy. And at the national level, it is 11. In these villages, it is observed as 16.6, almost double and triple the national and state averages. And anemia, it has been reduced, the no anemia is about 52% as against 41 in the as per NFHS 5. And the global diet diversity index also it's about 11. Usually the range is about 0 to 18, but if it is more than 10, it means it has all the food groups, and we can consider the people are having a good quality diet. And similarly, the credit scores, especially the child milestones, caregivers index score, we did that. And it is also showing a lot of improvement, significant improvement in these villages. I just wanted you people just to notice that. You can see that the mild and moderate anemia, mild anemia is higher in these villages, and there is no severe anemia in these villages. So mild anemia with the dietary modification we can reduce. But in severe, we need to have a medical intervention. Whereas in even if you look at the S2S or under 5 children, adolescent, everywhere, the cases in these villages, the mild and moderate cases are more compared to the severe cases. But it is the other way in NFHS data. So the same thing I just showed for other pregnant women, adults, and also S2S households. And when we look at the significance, is highly significant in all these villages, all these categories of the people. And in the malnutrition, because why I'm sharing that, for 20 years I worked on the infant and young child feeding practices focus on that. But I never realized that we thought that we developed certain messages and giving on. But here we realized that people are able to introduce the food, complementary foods at the age of 6 to 8 years. To certain extent, they were able to do some diversification, but in terms of the frequency, it's not going. The message is not going clearly. And it came up very clearly in these villages. See, there is 100% of people, they're able to introduce the food. But only 48 or 49% of the people are able to give it the diverse diet. When it is come to the frequency, it's only 25%. And the composite indicator, the acceptable diet is a composite indicator of the both diet diversity and the frequency. It has come down to 16.67. I think it is really, these results are giving us, the programmers, to modify the IEC strategies and how do we increase that. And even we have seen the food insecurity in these villages. So using the 8-question tool, and we found that wherever the APCNF natural forming HN is there, the results are so good. And even similarly, the S2S families. And we correlated with the households in the malnutrition and the POP, and it clearly shows that they didn't have the enough adequacy diet. This is the child development. Even in the midline also, we got very interesting and very significant progress in terms of the child milestones. So these are the conclusions. If you integrate the nutrition programs with the counseling, like nutrition advice or behavior change related aspects, it's giving a very good results. And with the natural forming, if you include other nutrition sensitive programs like WASH and other behavior change, household behaviors, then that is giving a very good thing. And also people are able to get the pesticide-free diet in with these interventions. And a lot of scope for convergence with the rural development, education, health department, and the WCD. And the organization currently having a lot of collaborations in the research with the, as I already mentioned in the baseline, and we have done it. And we are also now, today only the UK team came, they were there in the project, just landed. And here mainly to look at how the food quality with the taste panels, how it can be validated and then compared with the laboratory tested materials. So that's also we are doing it. And we are also having a Nutri enterprises. That is another important thing we are looking at. We realized that during the food basket implementation. Otherwise, we were just talking about the Nutri snacks, but it will not, it's not their need. They felt that when the food basket was prepared, we need to grow the crops, we need to have the enterprises, all the rural marts, whatever the processed food can be replaced with these things. So that's the demand side. If you can provide some nutrition sensitive interventions, that will give a lot of good results in this. So this is in the another study, Bloom study. There is an RCT being conducted by the University of Edinburgh, and they are doing what are the co-benefits of this natural farming. So that's another study is going to come up in the next 1 or 2 months. We'll get the results for that. I just wanted to share that our journey did not, this mind map was drawn in year 1. This was drawn after 5 years of our experience. Now a sort of protocol is ready to integrate health and nutrition interventions in the program. So I just wanted to show that there's no blueprint, but the print was designed after the implementation. And the way forward we were looking at is we wanted to expand from 10% to the all the APCNF villages. And already the natural farming program is being expanded in other states and other countries also. So now the health part of it also, we wanted to provide the technical support to expand in within the country and outside the country. And these 400 villages, we wanted to develop them as a training hubs so that it will be helpful for the country and also the outside the country. And the Nutri enterprises, as I mentioned that now, we just had an MOU with the Indian Institute of Millet Research. So they have excellent common facilities. We are going to explore that. And our Honorable CM is very keen to develop these natural farming products in every village, access to every village. So we are trying up some special projects in 2 of their constituencies. And other important thing, we are looking at the partnership with the research organizations. And research studies also not only on health and nutrition outcomes, what are the economic benefits that we can see? So we're really looking forward to have these things. And APCNF, already the Patelji has mentioned that, like, no, APCN, the Andhra is acting as a national resource organization for the National Mission for Natural Farming, which is formed this year. And also integrating with the existing programs like a Poshan and also the Poshan Abhiyan and also the Millet Mission and other things. Already support started in few states like Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. And global relations relevance also, we started the work in Kenya, Sri Lanka and Indonesia. Sri Lanka just came for a visit, and the work started in Kenya and Indonesia. There, the health aspects have not yet been started. It's only focusing on the natural farming. So what we are looking for the international support, the agencies can support is the scaling of the agroecology research and impact studies, and also the investment in the nutrition sensitive programs, not the specific programs. And similarly, the policy advocacy and integration into the global agenda, maybe the organization can come forward. And the farmer training and knowledge exchange programs can be organized. I think these are the support that we are looking from the international organizations. Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I would have urged you guys to clap louder, but I think no amount of claps can match what we just witnessed today. So, I always believe in development sector and as is, one missed opportunity is one too many. So missed opportunity is one too many, and having a MOC, missed opportunities cognizant mindset, is what if we have, we can kind of and the themes of my book. But then I was blown away by, how beautifully the missed opportunities have been looked at and addressed, whether it is bringing together the education and action, the nutrition fellows, getting the graduates together, or the SAGs and all the existing mechanisms, layering them with health and nutrition. I think that one slide where it was plus HN and the other, kind of the stark difference there was, I think it makes really a big case of what you said, ma'am. Integration is not an option. I think we were converted, we were a room full of converted, and now we are super converted in the belief that integration is not an option, but more importantly, it is a reality. And we have just seen in the fabulous results. So thank you, ma'am, for spending decades in MCH, and then spending another 2 decades in MCH, and then another decade in the nutrition, in the agri and the climate side of it. I think I'm speechless. I was telling her I could have listened to her whole day, and I'm sure the sentiment is common. With that, let's change the lens a bit. We heard about SHGs, we heard about, all the rural innovations, and how can we not talk about the gender lens here? So I think it was a perfect segue to invite Dr. Sugandha Munshi to talk about empowering women for climate resilient food systems, a gender response approach. Dr. Sugandha is a recipient of the National Women Achiever Award, Adhi Abadi in India, for her work on gender equality. She has an extensive experience of 16 years working in the field of gender mainstreaming, including programmatic innovations, implementation, research, and policy. And for her exemplary work on women farmers and gender, she has been recognized and awarded the title of Wonder Woman. So let's hear from the Wonder Woman. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Just one request from for all the participants. If you want to experience the thing, please do make a visit to the APCNF model, so then you can get more details. I can't present all the details in just in 20 minutes.
When are you going back, ma'am? I'm booking my tickets.
Thank you, Smriti. I'm humbled for such a, I would say, emotional and also powerful introduction. Uh, so now I am in a room right now where all of us are working to change the life of those who are being unheard. They are unheard, whether they are small or marginal farmer, where there are farmers who are tribals, who are sitting in the villages of northern India, or the farmers and the stakeholders working in agriculture to improve the production, nutrition, and also a climate resilient food system promoting that. So this slide, or for next 25 minutes, which the slot I have got, each slide will take you to the grassroots of India in 3 states, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and Orissa, and a decade-long work conducted by International Rice Research Institute through different projects. I am not highlighting the project achievements here. My slides will take you to the achievements of those unheard women farmers. And when I say unheard women farmers, they are heard because men of the household are also supportive. Gender. So to start with this, when we need to empower women farmers, the slide when you see, these are the farmers from the tribal belt of Orissa working in Delang block on climate resilient technology. As Patelji, you very well mentioned about direct seeded rice. So this is the technology which is being promoted and worked with these women farmers. So that's the background of this first slide. Now, when we see, when I want to talk about gender, may I request all of you to please close your eyes for a few seconds. I humbly request all of you to please close your eyes. Imagine a farmer. Quick. What is the first phase? Like, whom did you see? Be true to yourself. Might a male farmer? How many of you saw the male farmers? Raise your hand. Good. And both male and female farmers? I saw male first. 3, 4. Then the female farmer. So thank you for all of you to imagine a farmer of India first. And then we know the problem. I won't dig deeper. Identity is an issue. When we talk about gender, climate, resilient technology, nutrition, sensitive agriculture, all comes later. The first thing which comes to the forefront is, are we recognizing them as an equal stakeholder in the work we want to carry? We have different esteemed personalities sitting here who are working on different projects, representing different institutions, government. So this is a room where we need to converge after this. So people are born, male and female. The society make us men and women. This is a theory we have read. I don't need to get deep into that. But the question is, are we making an effort to break the silos where we differentiate between a male and female capacity in the agriculture system, or to work on the climate arena right now, coping the climate change with what they can do and not judging them? So climate change is not gender neutral. It affects women differently as that of men. There are a lot many researchers which have gone into the picture. We have data. What I will talk about right now is that women are often left behind with less resources. We know the land rights movement going on in India. They don't have access to land. They don't have access to resources. They are struggling with the access of extension services, which reaches out to them directly. I'm very hopeful and I'm very happy to also share that in one decade, India has actually taken a stride where with the self-help group movement, and I call it as a silent revolution which happened in India, not only in agriculture, but every field. When we see the self-help groups work happening in India, as Madam also presented, and all of us working in agriculture or climate arena must be working with the SSGs, has played a pivotal role in India. Now, are we ready to leverage that platform? It acts as a catalyst. The need is that when we talk about climate change interventions where we want to work on it, we have to leverage that platform. We know there are millions of women who are now attached with the self-help group. I'm again taking example from Uttar Pradesh. You have Prerna, and led by the government of India. You have Jivika, Bihar Rural Livelihood Promotion Society in Bihar. And also you have DMS, Department of Mission Shakti, working in Orissa. These are the three powerful platforms which need to be, leveraged, where we need to converge, whether we are private sector, whether we are research institute, whether we are government. Of course, government is working, but the developmental organization as well. So when we want to actually have, gender sensitive agriculture, gender sensitive climate resilient food system, we need to put women at the center. So how do we include them? We know what we have to do, but then how is the question. What is that journey? So as I said, all slides you are seeing, the pictures are from the grassroots women farmers. The first slide with the groundnut you see is from Madhya Pradesh. The second which you see is from the travel seminars in Samastipur districts of Bihar of the women farmers, where we work on climate resilient technologies, early wheat sowing, direct seeded rice, rice nursery enterprise, and also the varieties information to the farmers. That's the pictures from there. Then you see this one, this picture at the bottom. What are the farmers doing? What are the women doing? They're not only farmers, they're also the members of the self-help group who are acting as an extension agent for Jivika. They are actually learning and trying to promote whatever they learn from here about the crop cut of wheat. And when I say the crop cut, it's a very, very scientific way of doing that, taking the crop cut data and saying that this is the increase in my yield of the production with certain technology I have adopted. And there you bring women into the pictures. And I'm telling you, 5 years back, it was like, oh, women doing that? Not possible. Men can do that. And we were like, no, let's give them a platform, see what happens. And with this, I'm giving you the data. These women, there were 50 of them, went back to their different 13 districts with Jivika, and they trained 5,000. That's the number. And it's the data with Jivika, 5,000 women farmers and the household working in agriculture, both men and women, with this kind of knowledge. So what we have to do? We have to be aware of what we are doing. We have to be responsible. We are responsible when we take any technology, any gender responsive technology working in climate change and in our agriculture, to the farmers. We have to listen to them. And when I say farmers, I'm speaking for both men and women. That's gender, right? And of course, putting more focus on women because they are left behind. We have to be innovative. Innovate. We have to take risk. We have to innovate with our technology. We have to innovate with our interventions which we want to take to the women farmers, and we have to be reflective. Let's be true to ourselves. If any of the agenda we go with the farmers is not complete, for example, if I want to have a disproportionate change for the varietal acceptance, let's accept the variety replacement is a big challenge, whoever is working. It takes years for farmer to understand that. So are we reflective enough to know the gap which was there? And are we reflective enough to plan together with the farmers, with the stakeholders working in the agriculture system, that we are reflecting for the gaps identification? We identified the gaps and now we have the solutions. So this is the gender integration. Again, it's a theory. Everybody knows this tool we use. We need to reflect on each of our interventions, whether we work in nutrition, we work for climate, and also a very important development in agriculture right now is about the biofortification. We need to see ourselves, where are we? Are we gender blind? I don't think so, because if we are gender blind, we won't be sitting here. Are we gender aware? Are we gender exploitative? Are we gender responsive? Or are we gender transformative? And let me tell you, as an ED institute, and I'm sure that all of us are working for gender responsive approach, transformation is a long time business. And I'm hopeful that will also happen someday. So this is the gender responsive approach. And again, this picture is from the farmers' field of Uttar Pradesh, Maharajganj district, where you can see the hands. It's one for male and another for female. They are from one household who had their crop cut where in our program, we do public harvesting. And the public harvesting, which is done with the KVK system, with the NARS system, with the farmers, with the private sectors, they come together at one field where farmers have adopted the technologies, which is called zero tillage in wheat, for their production. And when they see the yield, it's important to have both hands there. That's what is gender responsive. So what do we actually, need to do? This is from one of the project we are doing on planting dates. So planting dates is one of the technology, one of the innovations which is going in the, rice wheat cropping system in the state of Bihar, where we work on shifting the planting dates. So the research says, and all the scientists coming from the agriculture background must be knowing, the research says that when we sow our wheat from 1st to 20th of November, right? We increase our yield of wheat. Along with that, we also help farmers to avoid the terminal heat. And terminal heat is something which reduces their production heavily. And then with that technology, it's a no investment technology. You have to just shift your dates. Generally, what happens, farmers in Eastern India, they sow their wheat from, say, 10th of December till 25th, right? So what we are trying is that we are doing a kind of a behavioral change among the farmers, again, both men and women, to shift their timing patterns. I won't say there's a drastic change that now everybody is doing 1st November to 20th. But out of the data, the research data, which heavily there in the our website, and I'm more than happy to share the link with all of you, can go through, that 60% of the farmer in our intervention area, they went from November 1st to November 15th and 20th as well. So this is how, and it is a decade long, interventions. It didn't happen in 1 year. It took us 8 years to have that shift. And now with this field is from Gaya, district Gaya, you all have heard about Bihar. And this is one of the farmers who are doing farmings on leased land. And it is right on the roads of the highway of Gaya, because now we are developing the country and reaching out to interiors. They lost their lands, but they took land on lease and they are doing the farming. And you can see those, the wheats grown. This is of, 21st to 20th November, 15th November wheat, which has been, sold by this couple. So the question is that, again, when we have to be gender responsive, we need to have innovations. We need to take risk. We need to do capacity building. Earlier speakers spoke about it. I'm just taking you to the journey from India to Bharat. That's how we are working for gender responsive, climate smart agriculture system. We have to have evidence-based policy making. So there has to be a bridge which has to be, there from grassroots till the policy level. And I'm really happy to see the panel today that we have bridged that gap. And thanks to GAIN for getting all of us together to, have the next step to walk together for the change and walk the talk. So now, how do you empower? You build a climate resilient food system and ensure food security of all. We need to create a conducive ecosystem. A conducive ecosystem which is based on trust, which is based on evidences, which is based on I say that, human nature to agree to disagree. It's not always necessary that we'll agree to everything we do together. But then it's important that are we agreeing to disagreeing and come to a common solution. So this is the pathways. And what slides, as I said in the beginning, this is our 24 hours work, which has gone into different phases of last 1 decade. It is based on the experience with thousands of women farmers and thousands of households in Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, and Orissa. So the pathways are we have to make them aware. We have to make them aware of that traditional knowledge is not bad. We have to build on the traditional knowledge, and then we have to take new innovations to them. There has to be a marriage point. We have to make farmers aware. And when I say farmer, all involved in agriculture system or the climate resilient work we are doing, access Just telling that certain technologies work, certain ideas work will not help us. We have to provide an equal level playing field for both men and women working in the system, working in the agriculture to have access, equal access and affordability. And when I say this awareness, access and affordability, as madam you said, self-help group is the tried and tested platform. These three combination plays the crucial role and act as a catalyst when we want to empower women in agriculture, in climate resilient food system, and also for nutrition. As ma'am has already presented nutrition, I'll not go on that detail. So gender inclusive technology development, design, dissemination, and data system need to be strengthened in India. These all compartments have to come together. We cannot just do some pilots. We cannot just go to farmers, spread technologies and say, hey, we have trained 5,000 farmers. What's happening after that? Where is the adoption? If the adoption is not happening, I tell my scientists, oh, don't be sad. If the adoption is not happening, it is giving us some more informations to pull our socks together and get to the farmers what they want rather than what we want them to do. So that's the, I would say, a science to work for gender inclusive agriculture system and climate resilient, work. This is the intervention model which I was talking about. Identity and recognition is the key. I know this sounds something like, what is identity and recognition? We saw when I started, imagine a farmer. Once we identify women as a farmer, we have one half battle. They will not be missed. Improve knowledge. We have to take knowledge right at their doorsteps. And there again, I would reiterate, SSG act as a conduit where you have 100 of women farmers ready on the field in villages to take your knowledge. And then there we have to be sensitive. Not doing the trainings around 9 a.m. and expecting women to come. They can't. Are we aware? Are we sensitive about that? We have to be. And if we do that, we'll have a gender sensitive and gender, I would say, transformative approach in coming days. Increase capacity. They have to be the equal in eyes of the scientists, in eyes of the government, in eyes of the development sector and the investors and the donors. They are equal. They have full capacity to be trained the same way we expect a man to be trained. She might be illiterate, but she is not uneducated. There is a difference between literacy and education. And I just want to present this with, with experience. A man leasing a land is referred as a farmer. A woman leasing a land is many a time referred as landless. She doesn't have land. We need to be sensitive when we think about landless and land farmers when it comes to gender. So that's another area I just wanted to highlight here. And then leadership development. And yes, I want to really put forward that when I talk about leadership, it is not about giving lectures. It is not about leadership, is self-leadership. When in a group of self-help group, you have on an average 10 to 12 members. Well, the theory says 10 to 20, but on the field, we all are working. We have 10 to 12 women farmers. We have one farmer who can speak very good, give you the story of all her village and everything, right? In that same group, you'll have a good listener who will not speak, sitting in a corner with a baby. We'll have another, women who will be so critical about your work. You have come from cities. What do you know about us? You'll have a fourth farmer who will go to different, Kisan programs of the government or with us also, who is considered to be a progressive farmer. So they are heterogeneous. They are not homogeneous. They have age differences. They have their land difference. Like somebody can be from good family, to say which is defined as good, that having land rights. Then in that group, are we able to get into the nuances of each one of them, their strength and their weaknesses, and then plan our intervention accordingly? I'm taking an example right now here about rice nursery enterprise. So the rice nursery enterprise, one technology, I'll obviously talk about DSR, but the rice nursery enterprise, see, everybody will not shift to the DSR technology in rice. There will be the traditional. So it's called puddle transplanting of rice. Just to give a quick background, all of you know that you transplant the seedlings. And that concept we took to the state of Bihar called rice nursery enterprise, because then again you have to have young healthy seedlings in rice, which has to be from 20 to 22 days, which increase the productivity. And that seedling has to be transplanted on time. So we thought, we innovated that, hey, let's think about a business model around it, because there are big farmers in that area of Bhojpur Ara who are not doing the farming. They have drifted away, shifted, and their lands are fallow. We took this concept with the self-help group and said, see, machines are coming. We cannot stop that. There's a trade-off of every intervention we do. But then will we wait for the day when women will lose everything? Or we'll start innovating, we'll start taking risk with them. Right in 2014, I'm talking about 2014-15, we took this concept to the area. In that area, it was well said. Those who come from that area, or you can Google also, we, in Hindi, I will say, they say, Modi or Chori hum nahi bechte. That means we do not sell seedlings and girls. Start the traditional patterns which have been coming. And we were like, oh, now what? Now how will you take it to them? Those were women who did the pilot in that area. There was an organization known as Mahila Samakhya, Government of India funded, very powerful SSG, with that group we intervened in 2014, where we incepted the Kisan Sakhi model. If you can see it right there, Kisan Sakhi, establishing the identity as a farmer, establishing the identity as a women entrepreneur in your agriculture system. So this group of women, they took this, they did the business, and they earned the net profit of INR 35,000, 10 women group, 10 women together. The first pilot they did. And in today's dollar, that time it was 62, 63, so that was a good amount of money. Now that is the power of a group. That is the power of women sitting at the grassroots who can solve their own social norms, given the trust, given the right information, given the right technology to them. And there where I highlighted this example for the leadership development. Leadership is not only getting on road and shouting and yelling. Leadership is about self-leadership. Being quiet and doing your work. And I very well remember the farmer named Holy Devi. If you go back to our work, you can say she said, we are silent, but we are not dumb. And that is where you learn gender from the grassroots and how to empower women. So that's the example. And there are articles and there are publications which I can obviously share. I didn't want to bring the publications here because I really want you to travel from Bharat to India to Bharat and what's happening when we talk about gender responsive agriculture system. We are also adopting this system, this innovation across South Asia. But as the topic was for India, I concentrated on India. Now see convergence. The second most important thing is convergence. So this is the convergence platform which was developed in the state of Bihar, innovated in the year 2019, 2 years before COVID hit. And this platform, if you can see, all the important players came into the picture. So I remember the Bihar Agriculture University, Bihar Rural Livelihood Promotion Society, and CGIR Institute, along with private players, right, like Bayer and ITC came together to take technologies to the farmers. Now the question was, what do you want to take through this platform? Everybody is working. So you see, Samiti managed, now it has expanded. Now it has been taken up by ICAR as one of their institutional policy. So, from 2019 and right in 2023, just in 4 years, seeing the impact of this platform, ICR has taken up the convergence platform and now they lead it and we go them in the meeting as a member. So if you see the dynamics, if you see all the satellite of people working together, what did we do? We selected on advisories. The problem of the state or the problem here in the Eastern India or across agriculture is different organization going with the same message for the season. Like Kharif, when you do the rice thingy, Kharif and Rabi season, these are the two prime seasons. We are investing. Everybody is investing on different, through different platforms. But did we sat together? We didn't. And so we said, let's try this with the partners and with the government to have this convergence platform. This convergence platform was formed. And if you can see, the one of the, I would say, the interventions which it took was agro advisories in Kharif and Rabi. It started with Bihar. Now it is across the ICR system. So every Kharif and every Rabi, we have a continuous convergence platform meeting led by ICAR and Honorable Principal Secretary of Agriculture Department, of course, with the CGIN Institute, private and public sector, coming together on the season before the starting of the season and sending advisories together. So there's a single window system agro advisory now. And when this was being formed, the heart of it was inclusion. You cannot miss on women. So that was the mandate, of this platform, because we are talking about gender responsive approach. So from the day of its inception till the implementation, which is happening, and also during the impact analysis, we have women there. And now I'll show you some of the, data. So we have women farmers and men farmers who are the important connectors of it. We are not leaving any one of them because gender is not a standalone concept. Now, this is again the picture of the farmer. Her name is Kusumi. She is again from Bihar because this convergence platform, I wanted to bring to you the pilot picture. We reached out to 1 million farmers through the convergence platform in the state of Bihar alone, out of which 0.2 million were women. So when I say 0.2 million were women, that's come across 20 lakhs. This happened because of the participation of Jivika into that convergence platform, because their mandate is to work with women. So it was very easy, a one-day meeting to reach out to these many farmers. Now this is about the quantity. When I talk about the quality, we are doing now, because it is 3 years, we need some time also invested. We are doing now studies that what is the adoption rate of the advisories. So the advisories which were shared with the through this platform was on varieties, on the climate resilient technologies, on the nutrition sensitive agriculture, also on the fertilizer application, don't do over this, then also about the one of the important thing was irrigation, because irrigation is another issue which is being faced largely in this agriculture system and helpful for coping with climate change. So right from day one, the women were a companion and an equal player of receiving these information and sharing further through their different platforms. So what happens when we converge? It's very important that when we converge, we give real-time services to farmers. We go together, we send them advisories at one time through different platforms, through text messages, through advisory, chat bots with different institutions had. I take the agriculture university example. They have their different, message of using posters, community mobilization, pico projectors and radios, and they reach out to the farmers. And this is the farmer who is receiving the advisory on the phone. And now everybody know to operate the smartphone. So that's making best use of that. So this is the enabling ecosystem I was talking about. We have to identify them as a progressive farmer for gender sensitive approach. We have to have knowledge bank right in their hands or right to them in their local languages. We have to be very, very careful about it. One thing I want to highlight here is the IEC material, information, education, and communication material. Even believe, and you must have experience, women are seeing Facebooks. Women are using Twitter, right? At least the younger generation of the family, right? When they get the advertisement or when they say any program which highlights about agriculture innovations or agriculture subsidies, and there you just have a man farmer picture, it demoralizes them. Whenever we address farmers and only say he, there is a problem. So knowledge bank has to reach out to them right in their hand. There has to be a shared leadership. And when I say shared leadership, it's about seeing all those 10 to 12 women of the self-help group as equal. Each of them brings something on the table. So there has to be a shared leadership. There cannot be a one champion woman in that group. So let's implement the shared leadership concept. And economic empowerment. Economy is the key. Whatever technologies, whatever climate resilient, interventions we take to them, it has to generate income. So we have to be mindful about it. So evidence generation and filling the gender data gap is important. We need data to build and rebuild on the gaps and lacuna we see. We need to have data to innovate. And when it comes to the climate resilient food system, nutrition, food security, we need to have evidences. And then only we can have a rigorous planning. I've already spoken about it. I won't go in detail, but this is how you have to see any of your project, any of your intervention, any of your program, right at the designing phase, that is it gender sensitive? Is it gender responsive? So planning, implementation, and monitoring evaluation of the program, schemes, projects through a gender lens. We have to have a gender lens for that. Addressing gender differences. You can read it, but I'll take an example of mechanization. A big, heavy tractor. Expecting women to drive. I'm not saying they can't drive, right? They're going to space. But then, are we sensitive enough as a scientist, as an engineer, ag engineer person, to have small machines as well developed for the women farmers? Because they have small land holding. It is not only about physical, it is also about the small land holding they have. So we need to innovate. The science need to work around this kind of interventions, addressing the difference. Focused on agriculture intervention for gender perspective, sensitivity towards bridging agriculture knowledge gap between men and women. So when we reach with some of the information, I'll just take an example here. We did a study on the impact of WhatsApp as a source of information being used by men and women in the state of Bihar. That study, that paper is published by Nature's, right, in Spingers and there. So the result came, both men and women said that this chat, when we use this WhatsApp, it acts as a chutney. That paper title is this, it's act as a chutney, but the rice and dal are the traditional way we used to get the information. See, we would have never ever imagined this unless until we wouldn't have reached out to them. So this is, how you have to go to them and listen to new innovations they are doing at their end, both men and women farmers. Filling the gender gap in technology dissemination. We have to be sensitive about it. And then an important thing, budget. When we do the budgetary allocations, do we compromise when it goes to women? And think that they can do it. वो तो कर लेंगी. So whenever we design our budget, we allocate our budget, we invest, we have to be sensitive about that. And of course, inclusive training mechanism, already I have spoken, and monitoring and evaluation of the program also have to talk about the gaps, accepting it and being reflective how to change that. Quickly, I think I have 5 minutes, so I'll wrap up. Direct seeded rice, as Patilji has already mentioned, is one of the innovations and the results. So this is a quick scientific paper which has been published in Nature. I'm just putting it, as he was already saying that this is a solution from rice gas house emission, how it does. So you have positive effect on the yield of succeeding upland crops. That's the data from Orissa DSR projects, which we are doing with government of Orissa. Then you have reduced drudgery. Drudgery is a big issue. Yield similar to PTR. So there is no yield loss. Either you are doing puddle transplanting of rice or DSR, there is no yield loss. You have also, you can see the climate mitigation thing, it is helping out. Reduction of all the climate issues. Water saving, look at the numbers, 29 to 25% can be saved, up to 50% if they do farmers do better agronomy practices. Higher net income by US dollar 100 to 120 per hectare. That's the research data. And then reduces cost of production by 120 US dollar by, per hectare, and labor saving up to 40% because you don't need to transplant. So all the labor costs spent is drastically reduced. And that is the reason why farmers are slowly and steadily adopting it. And this picture is from the Kusumi block of Mayurbhanj. And the lady you are seeing there is the women farmers to whom the technology was taken day one, not waiting that let's see how men perform and then we'll see where do we fit women. And this is why we need to do this. A quick glance over it. It enhanced farmer income, rice fallow intensification, crop diversification, taking care of the nutrition, because with this technology they can also grow pulses. And we know that the government is promoting diversification, and there are a lot of fallow land which is left. So we are also doing this in pulses, system productivity, crop intensification, and food diversity and nutritional security is achieved. So she is Malu Marandi, the farmer you saw on the field. And you can see her journey. I can have data of the scientific data, but here I wanted to make use of the time. Hear the unheard. I might be presenting this presentation, but it is she speaking to you. So Malu Marandi, she is from Mayurbhanj, Anganpara village of Kusumi block. 2021, we took this DSR intervention with them, right? The training and capacity building program. From there, she adopted that on 10 acres farm. She had 10 acres lease land, right? From lease land and mixed land of her own. Along with an additional 9 acres she leased, right? So 10 acre was her own, and 9 acres she leased land. Increase it to 40 acres in 2023 of doing the DSR. And the results I've already shown what benefits this technology has given to the farmers. In 2024, she increased it to 50 to 60 acres right now, currently. She, in 2024, did 60 acres of direct seeded rice, and it is her voice. Obviously, she said in Uriya. Unless we farmers try, she's not saying unless we men or female farmer try. See the clarity farmer has. Unless we farmers try, we will not be able to decide on what will help us improve our productivity. Leaving land fallow is not the solution. If there is a new technology, let's try. And this is how she mobilized her self-help group to do it. And you can see the number increasing of her area. She is the second farmer, Bishnopriya Biswal, from the Mayurbhanj district again. She has done the diversification part, right, through this technology. Again, not waiting for men to first do it finally and then incorporating it from day one. And this is a program where she's speaking with all the government officers, the NARS partners, KVKs, and all the partners there. When cultivating only paddy, I was generating income from a single crop. It's her version. When I diversified my crop, I have additional income from selling maize, groundnut, green gram, black gram, and mustard. Along with the monetary benefits, our family also consumes our farm produce and benefit from nutritionally enriched diet. And when he said nutritionally enriched diet, I explored. What do you mean by this? Right? To get deeper into the reality, right? Not so because you're here, then I'll say that I'm. So she said, I have additional sunflower oil I'm using, which I was buying from the market. She said the pulses, because there is an increase in production and there is no yield penalty which I have faced, I'm able to diversify the plate in my house. And with the added income source from this technology, she's able to buy eggs, right, for the children and in her family. She's the third one, Supriya Das from Ganjam. Now they all have the same women farmers, the same issues they are facing, but see the kind of, I would say, the power they have within themselves, coming from that background to walk the talk and be the part and take their step towards handling the climate change and making the climate resilient food a reality. She says that when I diversified my farming, I assured nutrition, food security for my family and increasing the income. So she has done the DSR in rice also and the DSR in pulses also. So she's the farmer who has done in the both season. So empowering women is empowering the system. And in last 1 decade, we have seen it in different spheres. So even for climate and agriculture, that's a reality. Invest in women. She's another farmer from Uttar Pradesh who is adopting climate resilient technologies on her field. Are we ready to invest in women? And when I close my slide by saying that invest in women, it's not only monetary. Are we ready to invest our trust with women? Are we ready to walk in the journey where they might have risk with new technologies, new varieties? Are we investing our time, our energy with them? And of course, are we giving them an equal level playing field through our investments? So with this, I will end my presentation, and thank you all for listening. And it's a learning opportunity for me. Thank you.
Sugandha, you're truly the Wonder Woman, spoken like one. What can I say? What words can match up to the energy that you got in the room? Thank you for, bringing the nuances, shattering the gender stereotypes, but also bringing heterogeneity within the gender lens. And like I said, what can I say after those emphatic words? But let me steal some phrases from her slides. So let's be aware, responsible, innovative, and reflective. We have tea break to reflect on all of the information, but hang on, don't leave your seats. We have some questions. As you were informed, it is being streamed online. So let me be inclusive and sensitive and invite the online questions first. And if we have time, I don't know, I think I lost sense of time when I was speaking to all these marvelous speakers. But if we have time, we can have questions from the audience, or we can have our questions while we are having tea. But let's first get the online audience questions. So over to you.
So we just have one question from the online audience. It's Matt Berkeley. This question is not directed to any specific panel member, so we can, I think, go ahead and all answer. The question is on, so his question is, what are some examples of items that are needed for food plate diversity? Which foods do people commonly leave out in your experience that you would have seen that would make a big difference to health?
Great. And can we, if we can park this and then have a couple questions from the audience, and then the panel can kind of, answer. Is that okay with that? Yeah. Oh, so we are not. Sorry, guys. So we'll have tea. We are serving tea, so you'll get questions there. But if you could respond to the online question. Thank you for the question.
I saw two hands, Neha and Matthew.
Okay, let's allow two questions and equal one men and one woman question. Yeah. And then let's take the discussion to the tea, please.
Thank you so much for listening to that. I have just one question quickly to Dr. Sugandha. When you did the Kisan Shakti and you marketed it out, what support did you get to increase the money back to the farmer?
One more question, and then we'll close. What, Bhuvna?
Their hands up.
So Matthew, I'll between Neha and Matthew, I'll pick Matthew. That's fine. We'll hear from Neha as well, and then we'll take the questions that side in the tea.
Yeah, thank you. I think my question is towards Dr. Sugandha and Dr. Lakshmi as well. So when we talk about community of farmers, we often see them as at the receiving end, or they end up being considered, or they end up becoming at the receiving end, or we call them beneficiaries. When it comes to inclusion, what are those approaches that we need to see them as equal partners or a significant partner, if not equal, and for them to be also equal owners of whatever initiative we're taking to them, and they don't end up becoming mere receivers or mere beneficiaries.
Thank you, Matthew. And let me be a little biased because of my gender. Neha, please ask your question. And then
Thank you so much. So I will be very specific. I have one question to Dr. Lakshmi. So since you have done very extensive work around this whole multi-stakeholder platform, but I could still observe, which we have also seen in our project, the MAD, which was earlier in baseline was 11, and then also in midline 16. Could you also get into like detail around what are the barriers which are really still in India, we are not able to get this complementary feeding and the whole approach around that more effective, like IYCF. So have you also looked at the like detail around that? If you can share your insight, or maybe we can talk bilaterally later as well.
A lot of details to be shared. We can share bilaterally.
Yeah, sure.
So panelists, you can.
So I'll take your question, ma'am, first. So Kisan Sakhi, which was an identity establishment we did with the Mahila Samakya program I mentioned, the income benefit of the rice nursery enterprise the benefit from the climate resilient technology, which is early sowing of wheat, right, and then zero tillage of wheat, varieties, improved varieties adoption, and also with the DSR, the income which they have generated, they have spent on the nutrition and the education of the girl child of the household. And that there's a publication on that, right? And there that paper talks about small is big. So I get goosebump, because like $100. Oh, what is $100 for? So it was 6,500 or 7,000, 68, 6,600 that time. And when I was asked that questions at different, platforms, and I was not hesitant to say that yes, she has earned one farmer, she has made $100. See the impact of that $100. I will take the name because I really feel that they have to be heard. I'm just like representing the farmers. So one of the farmers from Muzaffarpur of Mahila Samakhya, she is still working, Kiran Devi. At that time, she has a daughter who is studying in standard 11th. IA bolte hain. It's called intermediate in Bihar, right? With the Bihar government school. And she wanted to do DCA course, the computer one. It was a fascination. I'm talking about Bandara block, Harpur village, right? And that time there was no road connectivity. Now you have roads, but that time it was difficult. And when she earned 6,000, that was a very small amount, $100, right? She used that money to give it to her daughter for a local computer training center, which was charging 3,000 or 3,200 for teaching the basic course. The man of the family, with due respect, he will have some challenges as a father, but she was not allowed because the money has to be spent on other chores. And of course, I have full respect, they struggle, right? This woman used that money to get that course done for her girl child. That's well documented, right? And another woman from that group who earned when they divided the benefits, she got 2,000 or something. She said that, Didi, मैं तो अंडा खिलाती हूँ बच्चों को. So she said, I'll translate, I feed eggs weekly to my children till the time I'll finish 2,000. My children loves eggs. And when we think from our side, it's about increasing the nutrition value of the household. So that's how this Kisan Sakhi, and I call it as a movement which was there. Coming to the next question, should I take? Whoever, you guys decide. So quickly to your question, and then I can just pass it on to save time. I have a problem with the word beneficiary. I have a problem with the word when we say they are there to get something and we are there to give something. We have to be aware, as I presented in my slide. We have to be reflective as a practitioner. It's an honor for us that the farmers, both men and women, small and marginal farmers, are allowing us to work with them. They are allowing us to be a co-traveler. They are allowing us to and give us that space that we can work with them. So I never see them as a beneficiary. And that I call soft skill. When you walk to the community, with your one step, they can make out what is your hidden agenda. And I can say this with my 16 years of experience. They know why you have come there. So it is about a companion. It is about equal space we share. And yeah, it's they who give us. So I think that I am a beneficiary because they are giving me an opportunity to work with them.
Thanks, Sugandha. Thank you.
So Matthew's question, I think in addition to what Sugandha mentioned, so whenever you design a community demand-driven initiatives, always the planning starts with them only. So neither the government nor the NGO sector alone cannot manage the program. If it is given into the hands of the community, its only thing is we need to capacitate them how to manage it and how to implement it, design, implement it, and monitor the program, how is it going on. Then there is no question of the beneficiary part of it. It is their own program. I think that's the beauty of these community-driven, demand-driven approaches. So it's not if you think about the supply side interventions, then the word beneficiary, target group, and all these things will come up. But if it is on a demand side interventions, this doesn't arise at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
I can take the online question on the diet diversity and what needs to be promoted or what needs to be consumed. I guess it's very contextual. Each region has its own reasons or factors that influence access, affordability, and as a result, consumption of different foods, and also the nutritional or the malnutrition burden that those populations experience. So there are these diet quality questionnaires reflecting on India. We could say that we largely consume cereals and perhaps some bit of pulses and vegetables, but we could really use animal source protein. We could really use increased consumption of eggs, of meat, of milk produce, of fruits. These are something that are consumed much less in our in at least in the Indian context. While if you see in the nations that are consuming more meat, they can afford to cut down. They can go towards more plant-based diets. So it's more contextual. We did something called as the Diet Quality Questionnaire along with Gallup. That's a good source for us to look at globally. What is the trend across different countries? What's the current consumption like, and what can be promoted? And that's so directly linked with climate, right? Given that the whole animal farming or contributes a lot to GHG emissions, but countries like India should not have to pay the price for it by reducing its meat consumption, because their nutritional burden requires that certain communities need to start eating more meat as sources of protein. A lot of us are protein deficient in countries like India. So it's contextual, it's varied. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything from you, sir? Any last words?
In the Indian context, Madam has rightly said, we are lack of the nutritional support to all of the country population. So there are actually socio-economic conditions of the farmers, basically small and marginal farmers, don't have the resources to purchase the nutritional support like eggs, milk, and meat, all those things. The people eat occasionally at some places, but it is very much needed that by the diversification of the agriculture, by increasing the productivity, farmers will get some money by selling their produce, and they can easily eat the eggs and meat and milk, and then can get the milk for the nutritional support. So this is the things that can be done only through the enhancing the production of the agriculture sector. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you all. We break for tea. Supreet, Drishti, looking to you. When should we come back? Should we give a... We had a 15-minute tea break. 12:30? Is that okay? Of the panel. We have a panel. Oh, we don't want you to trim the panel. Can we come back in 10 minutes? So latest by 12:30, and as soon as you come back by 12:25, we can start the session. Thank you. Thank you. May I ask for some assistance to direct people to come in the room? Drishti, can you ask people to come in the room? Welcome back for those of you who are back and those of you who will join us. So, like I said, after the tea break, we have a very interesting panel discussion on climate smart food value chains, best practices, resilient models in India. And it is my pleasure to invite the panelists for the panel discussion on climate smart food value chains. I'll introduce the panelists, and may I request you, as you hear your names, please come up to the stage. Uh, First off, Dr. Jaya Hari, India Country Coordinator, Food and Land Use Coalition. Dr. Hari leads Follow India together with Secretariat at WRI India. He is also the Associate Director of the Sustainable Landscape Restoration Program India and an ex officio member to the ICFA board. He has initiated and implemented many conservation programs primarily in Western Ghats and Eastern Himalayas, and also provided consultancy services to the national and international organizations. May I request you, sir, to please. Oh, you're there. Then let's clap for him. And that this is the problem with established and expert people. Na? By the time you finish their introductions, it's too late. So, Dr. Selvaraj, India Country Director, World Vegetable Center. He is the India Country Director of the center, like I said, and World Veg is a global not-for-profit research organization working to fight poverty and malnutrition by promoting nutritious vegetable population. He has implemented projects of various ministries, departments of Government of India, state governments, and international donors. Welcome, sir. Apurv Khandelwal, next, Senior Program Lead, Sustainable Food Systems Council on Energy, Environment and Water. We have? All right. Mr. Ajay Pandey, co-founder and leader at Think Through Consulting. He's a seasoned sustainable development professional with over 2 decades of experience in sustainable agriculture, natural resource management, and food systems. And I apologize, I'm really truncating your introductions, editing them on the fly. We are trying to manage time, and this panel will be moderated by Dr. Bhuvneswari Balasubramaniam. Bhuvna will be giving you cues, so please look out for our hands. Over to you.
Thank you so much. And firstly, it's a brilliant panel of people with decades of experience. I look forward to learning from all of you a lot. Also, a quick heads up. I do have some questions, but if you feel I'm not asking the right question and you want to harp on some important point you feel that would add to that agenda, please do feel free to share it with all of us. I want to start with perhaps Apur, because of, the last time when we convened under the leadership of the Ministry of Agriculture on the climate resilient framework, agriculture framework, you spoke a little bit about innovations and driving technology for collecting data and for vulnerability mapping and assessment. Can you And given that data is one of our core area that we want to look at, how do we identify scalable solutions on generating data around climate resilient food systems? So if you could sort of explain to us on the work that CEW has done and what are the opportunities to scale up that work, I think we could kick off with that.
Thank you, Bhavneshwari, and thank you for organizers for having me here. So I think data is a great place to start this conversation. In the beginning of when the context was being set, we were talking about we need an integrated approach to transformation, and I think data is very central to enabling that integrated approach. Um, Sorry, that's true. If I need to sum up how we are looking at data, what we're trying to do is enabling integrated data, the right indicators available at the right granularity level in the right form. That's what we need to do. Whether these are technology solutions or these are the institutions who are working with those technology solutions and with those data infrastructures, if we know so to say, we need to really solve for that. And maybe we can click on each of that one by one. And I think I can embed some of the work that we are doing, but also what the space can do. So we need the right indicators to be embedded in not only the kind of data that the CSOs are collecting, but what government is collecting and is planning to collect with the future programs and already with their existing programs. Maybe a good example would be soil. Um, Soil is at the core of climate resilience of the farm. And what we need ideally are more holistic indicators as compared to more reductionist indicators. What we have been doing in soil health card, which also hopefully will be going through some transformation soon in future, we are measuring more physicochemical indicators. So NPK, micronutrients, but as the understanding is evolving of what soil is, if we are imagining soil to be a more like a living entity, which has a complex set of microorganisms doing complex reactions that then lead to the magic, for example, we are seeing in the program that Madam Lakshmi was talking about, natural farming, regenerative agriculture, etc. We need to really be able to measure the soil biology. So integrating uh, active carbon measurements or soil protein measurements, soil enzyme measurements would be then the way to go towards this. Some of them would be relatively more costly, but methods like active carbon measurement, which are being also piloted now in multiple locations in India, I think a good way to go ahead. Satellite technologies are being satellite imagery is being actively now being used for soil measurement. So a clear space where we can go beyond a reductionist indicator to a more holistic way of measuring that. And because if we are not able to measure, obviously we are not able to manage and enhance that. Second useful example would be something that Mr. R.S. Patel was talking about, the climate resilient agriculture. There's a framework which is emerging in the government. We are trying to drive a lot of convergence in how the funds would be enabled at the village level, how the convergence would be enabled. One place to start that implementation of that framework is obviously identifying the vulnerable and risky and vulnerable districts or regions from climate angle. NICRA is a government institution who has done that agriculture vulnerability and risk assessment. It's a very good place to start doing that, and they have already identified I think 330 districts which are very vulnerable. However, the assessment is really production focused. So it only considers the agriculture production indicators and those angles as we are assessing vulnerability. But if we are going for a more integrated approach, we need to have nutrition linked indicators of assessment or livelihood related indicators to assessment. So not just economic indicators or production indicators, but also other dimensions have to be there so that then you are able to assess from food systems angle, which are those regions which are really at risk, and therefore prioritize our efforts towards that. So that's one of the spaces where, for example, CW is now actively working. How can we come up with more holistic food system vulnerability indicators, and then prioritize a lot of effort that is going to happen towards climate resilience. And CRA program is one of the programs, but for example, there's national adaptation plans which are being developed. Recently, Government of India launched development of climate finance taxonomy, and all these frameworks and spaces would require a more meaningful vulnerability and risk assessment. And if we can embed more integrated thinking, I think the plans that will emerge will be automatically much more holistic in approach. So I think that's where right indicators need to be embedded in. One particular example I always want to talk about is our mad race for yield. And I think this is a room of experts, and we all appreciate that how mad race to chase yield is leading to multiple other externalities, which in an integrated approach are not really helpful. There was a recent report by ICAR where we noted that the improved yields, improved varieties of rice and wheat have actually much less micronutrients, particularly iron and zinc, in a country where we are already struggling with anemia significantly. So while we are solving for one outcome, obviously other outcomes are at risk. So instead of measuring yield per crop seasonal in a farm, why are we not measuring nutrition output per farm or per area per hectare annually? And therefore, a lot of impact evaluation that we are conceptualizing or doing, we are actively trying to measure nutritional outcome instead of just quantitative yields. So that's another space of work. The second point I would want to suggest, we need right indicators, but at right granularity. So initially, a lot of, let's talk about the vulnerability assessments. A lot of our assessments were done at state level. Now, NICRA's work is at district level, so district level assessments are happening. We also did one a few years ago. We got a lot of attention, but now we are taking it ahead to tehsil level assessment, because it was clear observation from our district level work. We noted that different districts very closely located are showing very different behaviors. There actually are swapping trends. The districts which were earlier drought prone are now becoming flood prone, and the flood prone ones are becoming drought prone. And these are very closely located districts. So if there is such variability, and people who are working on grounds, you're aware that even block level you see variation. And therefore it is very important to, for climate resilience programs, effective targeting, that we have very granular risk and vulnerability assessment. And that's one piece of work that we are actually now pursuing. Last year we launched our similar work on monsoon, how monsoons are changing in India, and that work was done at tehsil level, and we'll be bringing out more. And the third last point, so right indicators at the right granularity, but also then in the right form. And maybe Jahari would potentially talk about the work that FOLU, where CW is a co-partner. We recently launched a report on how data and agri needs to solve for multiple things, and what kind of dashboards are required, what sort of initiatives are required in making the data available in the right form, in the right analytics done in the right way it is communicated. And government is already doing a lot of work. There is Krishi DSS, Krishi Decision Support System, which is in the making, that will solve for that. But then we need to also have a layer of predictive analytics over it. A lot of times, a lot of decision towards this transformation that we are looking for is not happening because there is sense of risk amongst the decision makers. Okay, if we, for example, we scale what RYS is doing in Andhra Pradesh, natural farming, what will it do to India's nutrition security? And that's the reason potentially why, say, when the National Mission Natural Farming was launched, it is still peanuts in terms of the size of money that has been allocated to it, while there is so much promise, for example, we are seeing in Andhra Pradesh. Because there are obviously risks that decision makers perceive about these new way of agriculture, new programs, and therefore it is required that modeling or scenario creation happens where we can really showcase how in 20 years or 30 years in different adoption scenarios of natural farming, different strategies, how India's nutrition security looks like, how would impact the production, how would it impact the fertilizer requirement, the water requirement, what will become available for other sectors, so how what it does to overall economy, etc. So that modeling and scenario building is then one way in which you can make that data available to decision makers, and that's another space where we are actively working. Government of India, for example, under Niti Aayog, there is, for the first time, there is a working group that is trying to see how the current programs of government, what kind of mitigation co-benefits can be there from these programs that government is running, and how can this, what it means for India's net zero 2070. And for the first time, we are actually modeling agriculture emissions. And that sort of setting then allows for more consensus building between the stakeholders. Multiple ministries are there. And then that conversation is only possible because that data has been presented in a way that that takes us beyond just the risk perception to then conversation. Yeah, I think I've spoken a lot. I'll come back on other ideas that I have. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Apurv. You did not speak a lot. I think those were very valid points, but we will come back to you on what does this mean in terms of policy level implications, probably. But I want to come to you, Ajay. Our conversations have always been, very stimulating, and I'm looking forward to your inputs on, we spoke quite a bit about food production and, but I want you to reflect on food supply chain. And given that, think through consulting and in your past and different avatars you've supported across the value chain in the agriculture space, what do you see are the opportunities to address climate resilience from solutions in the food supply chain?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bhuvna, for that question, and thank you for having me here. Just to give a background, I started my career working in the natural resource management domain some 25 years back. A lot of things that when I was starting my career, a lot of things that we were discussing, we were kind of seeing happening, a lot of queries that we had as a young professional, I still see deliberating upon most of those aspects even now. When we talk about the entire food system, and food supply is one of the most critical part, traditionally there has been three broad areas. One was, as you rightly mentioned, for making that agriculture, there is a lot of inputs, the backward linkages, the kind of resources that needs to be there, because agriculture is a heavy resource based segment. The focus had always been on, for example, as Mr. Patel also mentioned, water, soil, the kind of technology that we require for helping the farmer grow different crops, multi-cropping, all those inputs. And this has been, kind of different type of interventions is happening within the country since 1980s, through watershed approach, through watershed plus approach. The second is, once the resources and this is where the climate angle also fits in. Once the resources are there, so for example, I was working in Odisha, and Odisha is a high rainfall state. Most of the areas within Odisha receives good rainfall, which is very different from a Rajasthan or any other semi-arid zone. So the water, the the type of problem was different, but the kind of implications were similar, and therefore you need to have different management techniques for conserving water and how you use water. So using water, uh, drop per drop, how you are actually utilizing, if you have access to resources, how you're utilizing it, all those issues were looked at. But the third element, which is once there is a harvest of crop, there is a, the crops is there, how do we get it to the consumer, and also for the farmer within their entire ecosystem, how do we trade, how do we transport, how do we keep, how do we value add, how do we look at those aspects which have traditionally been, you know you know, have been mainly considered from the government program, large scale government program initiatives, warehousing and all, and the focus has always been on food grains. Now we see, when we talk about food security, when we are looking at nutritional security, we are looking at different agriculture commodities. And I see there are different elements. One is definitely going to be capacity. Capacity, both in terms of, for example, let's take it, for example, production of tomato. Now, Nasik traditionally is the hotbed for tomato cultivation. You know, there are grapes and other, and we did a project there, and we saw that the farmers who are producing tomato, incidentally, there is very high food loss because of the perishable nature of the commodity. So when they take it to the nearest mandi, there is a huge backlog for the mandi to accept, and then there are loads of trucks of tomato which is waiting. And if they have to wait for 3 days or 4 days just for the mandi to procure those tomatoes, most of the tomatoes are already, there is a grading that happens. Most of the tomatoes have already lost their grades. And then there is a, you know, rate mismatch, because you are going there, you are, uh, the market mandi works on a hourly basis. So the rate kind of varies throughout the day, depending upon what is the supply of food going to be there. So some kind of initiative that has been taken locally. There are a few companies there who are working with the farmers there to negotiate a fixed rate. It's like, okay, we will take your supply, and they are issuing a coupon that, okay, your harvest will be taken on this particular day. So the farmers are ready to take it there, or the company itself procures it from their ground. So those kind of innovations are happening in tomato value chain. But in overall vegetable value chain, there is still a lot that needs to be done. And this is where, when we talk about climate resilient agriculture, we are not just focusing on production of food crop. We are also looking at, it's the key word here is resilience. So resilience is, how are you preparing those farmers to be, resilient in the face of any kind of externality that is going to challenge them. Climate is one of those factors. There are other factors which are socio-economic in nature. Just take, for example, the cost of transportation. There is a economic cost and there is a climate cost. If you are using diesel to move your trucks from one place to other, how you are going to economize that. So the focus of having such a wide-ranging strategy for building resilience in the face of the climate adversities that we are addressing, this is one of the area that the ministry, when Mr. Patel was talking about having reach at the gram panchayat, at the village level, and then converging, building a convergence among different government institutions as well as private players and civil society is going to go a long way, because the strategies needs to be different for different kind of context. India is a vast country. What works in Andhra Pradesh may not work in Rajasthan. What works in Rajasthan may not work in Nagaland. And we need to have those kind of strategies built. And also taking from what Apurva said, in doing all of this in the supply chain as well, having those models, having those data driven decision making is going to be critical. I would also like to add, although you asked specifically on food supply, but I would also like to add here, because of the conversation in the morning when we're talking about gender. This is my belief that when we talk about farmer, we should look at farming as an enterprise. And I think when we start looking at farming as an enterprise, whether it is being done at a household level, the enterprise will be looking at the entire value chain, right from how they are going to procure their seeds to how they are going to get their product in the market. End of the day, the enterprise needs to be profitable. I think this is the biggest when we are looking at small and marginal farmers. That is going to be the major challenge that all of us and the policymakers, as well as the practitioners and uh, the facilitators, need to think about. This, to an extent, also addresses the gender problem, because when we are not looking at a farmer, we are looking at an enterprise which is managed by men and women of the family. It could be one woman, one man, it could be multiple. And then when we are looking at enterprise, the challenges therefore could be related to supply, could be related to procurement, could be related to technology, could be related to behavioral change, could be related to any other aspect. I think that is the most critical aspect that we need to focus on.
Thank you so much, Ajay. I think a couple of very important points of farming as an enterprise. How do you create bottom line? How do you create effective, profitable value chains? And your point on, the focus on food grains has been a larger part of the conversation when we're talking climate resilience, and not so much on other diverse, nutritious foods like vegetables. Sort of segues very well into I think, our next speaker, Dr. Selvaraj. That's pretty much what we wanted to ask you, is how do we, I mean, we know rice, wheat, the resources utilized, the emissions as a result is higher, but how does growing vegetables sort of sits within this larger conversation of a climate resilient food system?
Thank you, Dr. Bhumeshwari. You rightly mentioned that when we talk of climate resilience, we often talk about cereals, especially the coarse cereals, as well as legumes, which are more climate resilient crops. But yeah, equally important is vegetables, because vegetables also undergo climate change. And in fact, we have been working on climate change research for the last almost, I can say, 15 years on how do we address this challenge on vegetables, and which is already there, and it is going to be more adverse in the future. In fact, if you ask me the entire vegetable food value chain, the challenges are in three segments basically, which we call is an entire value chain. Your seed systems, wherein we start the crop. Second is your production system. And third is your post-harvest and value addition. When we are doing our research in seed systems, we have, I mean, not only us, but any research institutions, let it be 1CG or international agricultural research institutions, the strength of any research institution is the germplasm. The kind of seeds we have collected over years from various regions, of various traits, various crops. And most of the research institutions, they categorize these seeds based on the traits that they exhibit. And mind it, most of them are traditional varieties, wild varieties, and it is all conserved for the last 4 or 5 decades, I can say, because that is the history of the establishment of these institutions. So we identify the traits which are more relevant to the current context in our breeding programs, in our research. We do look at the challenges, let it be drought related or let it be flood related, water tolerant varieties, or any kind of pest and disease. This is also something which is emerging as a major challenge in the vegetable industry. New pest, new diseases we are coming across. And not only because this pest and diseases are mostly crop specific, but what now we are undergoing is new pest and disease are being found in the old crops also, as well as there is a shift in the pest and diseases also. So to counter these, most of the kind of researchers are looking at the germplasm, the collection of the wild varieties we have, and we try to see that how best we can introduce some of those resistant varieties in our new breeding programs. So this is one thing which most of the institutions, especially in the vegetable segment, I can say we are more aggressive because vegetable, it is a resource intensive, high risk crop for the farmers. Unlike cereals, you can have like a kind of fixed income, but vegetables, it can be sometimes profitable, highly profitable, or it can get into a loss also because we are dealing with highly perishable commodities. And that is one of the challenge with which we are working. And mostly these are all short duration varieties, 3 months to maximum 6 months, you get your vegetables. And the storability is a problem. So next comes my production system where we are producing these crops. There we are trying to address like what are all the kind of environmental, micro level environment challenges the farmers are facing, because climate change is overall a macro kind of issue, but what the farmer is facing at a micro level. So those type of issues we are trying to address in the production system, especially production techniques. You can use protected cultivation also. It's one of the solutions for addressing the climate change, and also any kind of new technologies which we have developed, especially in controlled environment system, we are trying to teach the farmers. So there comes the capacity building program in the production system where we teach the farmers on new techniques of vegetable production. Thirdly, when it comes to post-harvest and value addition, that is a major, I would say, a segment which all of us need to focus, especially in terms of reducing the post-harvest losses. Even now, when we are talking to 20 to 30% of the entire vegetable production, not only vegetable, fruits also, is getting lost to post-harvest due to post-harvest issues. So there, if we are able to provide solutions, especially right from the harvest, there are techniques of harvesting vegetables also, because if you leave it to labor, they just pluck it because they are at the end of the day, the volume counts for them, because the more you harvest, the more you get the money. So there is particular techniques of harvesting each and every vegetable which needs to be followed. After harvesting, how do you store it? Where do you store it? In what conditions? Even if you are storing in a farm, there are best practices that you can adopt, because not all the farm produce comes directly to transport purpose. Farmers keep it for some time. Even half an hour, 1 hour storage in the farm itself makes a lot of post-harvest issues. Then comes the transportation. And what temperature are you transporting it? Are you using cold storage facilities, or it is just dumped, or it is transported in crates or gunny bags? Because a lot of these small issues make a kind of dent in the post-harvest losses. Then it comes to the retailers or wholesalers, retailers, and ultimately consumers. So even at household, we know, even if we buy 1 kg of vegetables, I am sure at least 200 grams is wasted at the end of the day. So that is something like we also need to, as a consumer, need to adopt some practices basically, because each and every vegetable has got its own temperature gradient in which it can be retained well. The kind of processes you can adopt to increase the shelf life, even at household also. So those are all the things which even at a consumer level, we are not aware of it. So this is something like a kind of entire value chain you need to address to address the post-harvest, the climate resilient issues. Thirdly, like when we are talking of research, especially in the given the climate change which is happening, not much is done at a micro level, I would say, because we are talking of macro level issues, flooding, drought, and all. But at the farm level, how the farmer is facing the challenge on a day-to-day basis, especially in vegetables, this needs to be addressed by research institutions, because we are conducting as not as a world wage, but as a researcher. I know that our scientists, our researchers are focused on a particular problem which is just heard, which is just seen somewhere. They might have interacted with one or two farmers, but if on a consensus, if we see these kind of research issues need to be dealt at a kind of consultation at a scientist level, farmers level, then taken forward for further research. But what is happening is some work is already done. We are trying to just advance it without knowing whether it is really useful or not. So this is at our research institution level also need to be discussed, how to address this micro level issues of climate change. And yeah, these are all some of the things which we are trying to do in terms of vegetables, because I know when we talk of climate change, there are many issues, and vegetable is just an integral part of it. And when we talk of nutrition, you cannot ignore vegetables. It is integral part of the entire ecosystem of nutrition. So certainly, climate change is impacting our kind of vegetable industry, and a lot of institutions, a lot of private sector, I would say, they are also equally dealing with these issues, because mostly private sector, they are more driven by yield. As I think Ajay mentioned, we are so focused on yield parameters, how to increase the yield, how to increase the kind of the size of the fruit. Those are all the kind of investments private sector is making, but we are forgetting whether it is really adaptive, any varieties that we are bringing, whether it is nutritive enough to provide right kind of nutrition, and whether it can withstand for a longer duration. Because even the varieties that we are talking of private sector, they are there in the market for not more than 5 to 7 years. That is the maximum time they can be there. But in public sector institutions, we look at varieties for 10 to 15 years. But that should not be the case. Like, we need to come up with varieties and hybrids which are more adaptive to the recent changes in the climate issues. So this is where I see that we have to advance our vegetable research going forward.
Thank you so much. Very insightful inputs on that. I'll move to you, Jayhari. I saved you for the last because one of the platforms that you're leading has a mandate to cross-cut across different work that's happening in the agriculture space, in addressing climate, in addressing nutrition, in addressing gender, which is the Coalition for Food and Land Use, FOLU. What I mean, you've worked with FOLU for, if I'm not wrong, more than 6 years now. Yes, leading that. Can you reflect on what are the opportunities for a platform like a multi-stakeholder platform like FOLU to really bring together these different pieces of the puzzle, and how do we to sort of address the bigger question of how to build resilient food system?
Thanks, Mona. Thanks for having me here. And this question, the complexity of food systems you have already seen. There's another part of this as far as India is concerned. See, of course, India is too complex now, socially, ecologically, climate-wise, and all. And but there is another opportunity lying around. The thing is, like, the kind of three-tier governance system which is existing in India. Even a district collector can take a food system approach in district administration, and that's a maximum. That's a flexible point where somebody can do it. So right from a district collector or a CEO of Jilla Panchayat to the Prime Minister, there are opportunities which are actually laying out. But the point is, and we were doing an analysis right now, like CW is part of it. We're just trying to see what kind of, if India has a food system transformation pathway. Yes, no, we don't have. But is there no pathway? It's wrong. So we have identified recently that we have made dynamic responses, right? See, what is food system transformation? We are talking about different, we have to break the silos and come together. Didn't we see that the alternate energy initiatives, the solar energy initiatives are supporting the water problem in this, in agriculture segment? So these things have been addressed. It's happening already. It can happen better. And so what I'm trying to say is, like, there is a tradition of cross-cutting policy emergence for a sustainable food system. There is opportunity right from the Jilla Panchayat level to the Prime Minister level to get into it. But what is not happening is actually, like, the same thing, like, what the speakers before me told, comes into the picture. Integration is something which not happening when it comes from the civil society and researchers and all to stimulate this policy and action response. One, many NGOs, so things are too different in case of rural food system and urban food system. And in rural food system, many organizations must be going to a district collector and saying that, sir, there are opportunities here. This is what we are doing. Have you ever see somebody going together, like 5 organizations going together and saying that, look, this is the package what we have to. Why it is not happening is because of 2 reasons. One, every organization doesn't have the capacity to look at all these elements of it. Like, I don't need to get into the gender and all these things are very specific expertise requirement, or and data, analytical, GIS, all these are modeling. So everybody doesn't have this expertise. So we focus on our capacities, our expertise, and we take our package. And during the last 6 years of operation in India, Folu, Apurva know, like, Abu, when we were really thinking what Folu can do, like what's a niche space, we tried many things. In phase 1, we tried, phase 2, we tried, phase 3, we realized that Folu has to really do this catalytic platform creation, where people has to, there are 2 ways of bringing together. One is the horizontal way. The civil society organizations, researchers, and we call them as stakeholders. The stakeholders has to start interacting each other. They should know, each other, and they should start collaborating with each other, and they should be inclusive and acceptable to others. At least they should not be exclusive. We're saying that this is my model and this only works. It's not the story. We have seen enough, right? And second is the vertical. So when you come together, there are 2 actors in India as far as food system is concerned: government and private sector. There are no other actor I can see. So how will you connect your pilots, your knowledge? We call it as assets. It's expertise, institutions, and knowledge to this policy making of private and government. So FOLO wants to work in these, the bringing the civil society together and connecting with the actors. The last point is we are trying to work out a proper mechanism to do it. We call it as India Food System Hub. So, the beginning of that we have done last year, November. Around 220 experts have come under a single roof. Bona, you were also there, Gain was also there, and and CW and all helped us in streamlining the sessions. Under 3 segments, there were continuous presentations happening, and we are collating that data, and we are trying to identify a framework in which we can put this information, so that and the objective is an India map platform with an India map, and every block you click, you should be able to understand what are all the assets available over there. Assets means institutions, knowledge, and and what you call the pilots or practices. So, and we are heavily looking at our partners to do the policy engagement by this. So precisely, there are opportunities. To tap that opportunities, we need definitely the multi-stakeholder action together. This is to create traction. This is to create confidence in these policymakers. I would say both government and private sector. So this is where we started working on. I cannot say that there is any very big success which has been made so far. But one thing is that there is acceptability. So yeah, so at national level we are doing it, and we are trying to do it at some subnational level as well. Yeah, I would stop there.
Thank you so much. And I think so somebody mentioned that behavior change takes a long time. And for us, that behavior change is for us to come together and say that knowledge share is knowledge amplified. And in that sense, there is that shared consensus. And I think, having people come as part of this deliberation is also a testament to that. And we are quite excited to see what FOLU has in the pipeline in terms of the potential it has to scale. I am told that we are wrapping up. Yeah. We can.
in the agenda, we had an open
Yes.
discussion, this thing. If the panelists are kind enough and you're kind enough, can we be generous with the questions, not just to the panel, but any reflections to the house,
Yes.
so that, there is, so I don't want to have a separate segment for open discussion. So can we open it for the
Yes.
open discussion? Great. And then we'll have lunch.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. So we'll stick around here. Yeah. If there are any questions
I
for
think
the
we can,
panelists.
what I'm requesting is just combining the two questions for the panelists and any reflections overall. Yeah, if that is okay.
Yeah.
So we have a question from our online audience. Again, this is for everyone. Can any of the experts share their experience on building resilient food systems? The question is from Sunita Chandorkar.
Sorry, could you repeat the question? Can
Can any of the experts share their experience on building resilient food systems?
loaded question?
A big question, so that I think I volunteer to take it. There are no such concrete examples. But if you, as I told, why I took this question is, out of these 220 presentations pieces which we have or speak, yesterday we were taking a stock about 140 were successful pilots. So elements like, I can briefly tell, like the backyard kitchen garden in Gachiroli district, Amiyamchi Arogya Sati has proved by proper blood tests that it is increasing the, it's decreasing the, anemia in women. So there are examples of different elements which are, which have been created. A complete food system transformation, I think, I don't know.
15 years down the line, we'll have some answers.
No, we will have to be a little more ambitious.
Ladies and gentlemen, any more questions, reflections from you? Yes. Do we have a mic? That will. The green light comes on and then it takes a little time. Yeah.
So maybe it's not the question, but maybe a reflection on the whole global processes on food systems. And Bhuvna, just I want to maybe bring this into the forum. Like there are a lot of experiences already going around globally on after this UN Food System Summit, and now this N4G is happening, Nutrition for Growth Summit, which is your also the focus why we are sitting here and deliberating on nutrition and climate change, climate smart food system. I just would like to understand, like, or maybe reflect upon, there are a lot of innovative practices, and we have already heard in the morning session. So what are our ambition, because it is also government to government, and since I already reached out to Supreet and others during that, GIZ is also supporting German government, BMZ, to share their experiences and perspective around transformation of agri-food system. So what will be our course of actions, taking this consultation into focus, that how we will also share some of our experiences in learning from India to global agenda. So is it already being thought through, or is there like all the panelists have talked on from different lens? Also, there was earlier session, Dr. Sugandha spoke about gender, which is also one of the key area. So how we would like to take the agenda from India to Paris, because in between the government, as you also mentioned government and private sector, but we are not directly representing there. So is it government of India taking the agenda there, or is it something we would like to bring up as a white paper on the various agenda around nutrition and climate smart food system? What will be our, as a group, role to really put our agenda into the global discussion? Is there already any plans, or are you into the discussion just for this whole group to, yeah?
I think I can take that question because little stake I have in this. Gain for Lu globally is also, working towards that too, uh, uh, reports which are coming in. And first point is this UNFSS +4, which is going to happen in July in Addis Ababa, It's not only looking at government. So there are two papers which are coming. One is stock taking by the government policies and non-governmental. So what we have done is, as follow, like, CW is part of it. I'm speaking on behalf of both of us. Allow me to do that. So we have contacted the national convener, Dr. Professor Ramesh Chand, and we have decided to produce a paper about the India Classic case. So the point is, like, green revolution in India was not just just like intensification of the production. It's also because of green revolution, a country which was known as the land of famine is now competing to become the fourth or third, if not second, largest economy in the world. So, green revolution, one example, like, Mr. Nandakumar was telling me when we were discussing this, in 80s, Rajiv Gandhi government took a decision that the whole poly bag should be, in the public distribution system should be using jute bags. You see the 80 million, tons of, grains which we are distributing. When the bag is replaced, plastic is replaced by jute, how much of climate action has been done by PDS, right? So green revolution was Atmanirbhar. How much of Atmanirbhar is feeding into the food system transformation? As I told you, the Bureau of Energy Efficiency's activity and solar mission, how much of that is contributing to this? So it is not that India doesn't work towards food system transformation, and we don't need to really hear from UNFSS think tanks on how to do it. So we are trying to showcase what is the Indian case, how we are moving forward, and what the world can learn from us. You don't need a dedicated pathway. Rather, even if you have a dynamic policy response system towards the drivers, you can do that. So this is a paper which is coming out. Most probably we will be collaborating that with Niti Aayog, because otherwise, we will run it through them, and because the procedure, very few time we have. But this paper definitely will be going through Follow Global, including Gain is part of it, to the UNFSS Plus for this time. Thank you. Yes, we had the first round of discussion. Kindly, Professor Chand is very much open to this. And we are developing the framework, how to capture it. It's very complex, actually, right? So we are developing that framework, and once the framework is done, we will be going back again. So they are open for a collaboration. It's not that they don't. Yeah, maybe India's I don't say India underrepresented. India didn't sign into that. Why to sign? Because it's already happening here. But somebody has to really document it and make it evident that.
Hi, I'm Rohini from Vedanta. We spoke about supply chain and value chains, right? So practically, when we are speaking about it, there are two systems and there are two worlds, right? So there's the private sector and then there's the government safety net programs. Has there been any documented case study or anything which kind of speaks about the entire value chain and the reduction of carbon emissions, especially in the government safety net programs? Because what we are trying out maybe multiple pilots across the value chain, but not in its entirety. So I just wanted to understand from your expertise, is there any model that can be replicated or maybe scaled up that has direct linkages with building a resilient system?
I would like to take this question, but unfortunately, I may not have an answer to your question where I'm aware that looking at, because see, if you look at supply chain, every commodity has a different supply chain, and uh, the carbon value chain, if I have to say, is again a very complex process. There are different tools. I think there are several projects which are in the pipeline, which I may not be fully aware of, and therefore I don't want to comment on that, and maybe other panelists can add. But in the private sector also, I mean, I've seen that in the private sector also, there are different, for example, Unilever has a different methodology that they follow, looking into the entire carbon estimation throughout the supply chain. While in the agriculture sector, in the private sector, there is always, already these inventorization which is happening across different industries. In the agriculture sector, this is something where USAID had prepared a tool. There is a tool which is being used by different private sector. And I have heard that the government is also developing its own tool, but I don't have that much of information to answer your question right now. But I'm open to other panelists. Yeah.
Attempting to respond to your the question, because it's a very broad question framed. But in terms of a good model, relatively better model in the public sector space, I think it's been talked a lot already and studied a lot, is the Odisha Millet Mission. I think because it has clear mitigation impact and resilience impact, uh, and it directly is trying to diversify a public sector sort of food provisioning effort. It has its own challenges because of the perishability of millets, which is then leading to new innovations and how to store it, process it, how do we shorten the loop of procurement and provisioning. A lot of ideas are being sort of tested, at least discussed in Odisha and beyond. So it's also a very interesting case because we were talking about has there been a case of food system transformation? The important thing to understand is that one thing is to imagine what a transformed food system would look like. But the second and more important thing is, okay, how do we make that transition happen? And it's a very interesting case where an institution, Vasan, uh, and RRAN there, which is also who is also a core partner of Fulu, how the effort started at block level in terms of piloting it, then to districts, then to a state level, which then became a story that became a national effort, and India pitched for it on the global stage for international year of millets. So it is a very interesting example of how the transition happens from a subsystem to broader scale. So I think a lot of learnings there. There is a case study that we have ourselves done on this. It's available on a CW website, but I'm sure there are other. It's immensely studied project at the moment.
Just one minute maybe. We made an attempt to understand whether a private sector company is benefiting by value adding their capital, their share value, and their brand value by taking sustainability initiative. We didn't get good evidences. But whether a private sector company's brand value and share value is being impacted when they are doing very unsustainable practice, yes, it's happening. So still that gray area need little more, enlightenment.
I would just like to add that it's not essential that only panelists are replying to it. If anyone wants to jump and share their feedbacks, you are more than welcome to come forward. Thank you.
To answer Rohini's question, I think the whole ESG mandate might also throw in some interesting insights from the private sector on the E part in how are they mitigating some of the environmental impact that's causing in the production of whatever services that they're doing.
Thank you. I thought I'd take Supreet's offer. And no, but Dr. Selvaraj, I think what you said was, yes, the problem is complex, but I think each one of you kind of said that we need to demystify it and put those building blocks in place, whether we call it pathway or we call it, getting the things together. But Dr. Selvaraj, what you said, looking at the micro picture, because whenever we say resilience and climate, it becomes a 30,000 feet above the ground problem. But the things that you said, what is happening in the households and what is happening in the farms is important. And just wanted to share, since you brought out ESG, I am associated with this Arogya World. The mission is to prevent NCDs in India, and with the ESG, and the mandate is to take the preventive health messages to places where people live, which is communities, where they study, which is schools, and where they work, which is workplaces. Last December, given the ESG mandate and the discourse, however far it might be from action, but the discourse, GAIN and ATNE, we had a panel discussion with the companies, the healthy workplace companies, to look at sustainability. And Dr. Hari, you'll be pleased to know IIM Mumbai is kind of trying to look at some semblance of what nutrition and sustainability, are there dots to be connected at the corporate level? So we are just kind of scratching the surface on that. If companies invest in sustainable nutritional from that lens, both in the production, in their pipelines, as well as within the workforce nutrition, what the sustainability gains and how ESG credits they can get. So I just wanted to kind of share that, and those micro steps, I think that picture is missing, and we need to kind of really concretize those steps, because every effort counts. And while, like Dr. Hari, you said, we might not need very focused, I mean, that is required, but then it's everywhere, and climate is everywhere, and that integrated lens and convergence were the two things. So thank you, Supreet, for prompting the audience. I considered myself as audience here, and then I pitched in. Yeah.
We had the first round of interaction with private sector last month in Mumbai with WBC.
Oh,
they're very
great.
positive.
Yeah.
But for them, it's a future risk.
Yeah.
Sustainability, especially the emission, investing in emission is a future risk. That is, none of the compliances in India, even though SEBI compliances of the top 1,000 companies, are making it mandatory for them.
Yes.
To declare their
Yes.
climate sustainability initiative.
Yes.
But it's optional.
Yes.
So it will be better to skip it, right?
Yeah, no, but it is tightening, sir. So I'm an Aspire Fellow, and there is this whole Chief Sustainability Officers program that I attended, and lots of companies are doing a lot of stuff. And I think it's a matter of time. And I think discussions like these and groups like these are going to just accentuate the discourse. Apurv, do you want to say something?
I want to add to this
Sure.
discussion. I think this is very important. While we all aspire this to become their immediate concern, I think Hari is very right in saying that it still remains on margin. It's a risk of future, or is it, or maybe it's an external mandate which there is no penalty to not follow. If we need to mainstream this integrated thinking, the way to mainstream is only if this can become linked to their main business. Supply chain risks are very clear to their businesses, and therefore they are now actively working not as a sustainability measure, but a clear business measure to work on that. Similarly, if nutrition has to become their main agenda, it is now starting to happen in still in some of the consumer segments where consumer is worried about their health, particularly post-COVID. Now we see all these in the marts of South Delhi, for example, at the moment, where you're seeing slough farms, etc., who are emerging. So there is a consumer segment which is becoming health sensitive, and they are therefore responding to it. If we want the health agenda to become integrated in their overall business, the biggest strategy would be if the consumers become more sensitive to health, then consumers are demanding for health, therefore they're producing for health. So there is this hope that we see, but there is also an important point here, because for even policy to shift, the vote or the people need to demand for it. Democratic demand has to be there. What we have noted, at least in our engagements, is that health, people don't seek sustainability very directly because it does not impact them in immediate terms, timeline. But they do respond to health concerns. Even in natural farming, where in RYSS experience, natural farming is being adopted because of health and nutritional outcomes. So if people are more worried about health than environment, there is a clear case for us to keep on synergizing them, because and we are noticing it that it's much more effective to make a health case than an environment case. And therefore, just to conclude the point, even in this work where for example, I was talking about that we are trying to look at what India's trajectory for net zero would look like. One of the framings that is becoming popular, you may be aware, is adaptation-led mitigation. But what we have also actually try to frame is nutrition security-led mitigation. Because if you move to away from rice to more vegetables and pulses, if you're moving away from sugar to them, you're definitely driving more health outcomes in India, which is now being called as the diabetes capital of the world. So not only you achieve mitigation benefits because of the less methane in the pumped energy, but you're also driving better health outcomes. So there is a clear case. So the more we link health outcomes with other narratives, I think the transformation is going to be much more plausible in shorter term. I think this is applicable to both policy communications, but also business communications and our strategies to transform businesses.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think policy and business, the BRSR, and within the ESG, this thing discourse, Bhuvna, that you brought up, there is the framework clearly states that it is all across the value chain. So just not their supply, but also the community. So it is kind of a 360 and it mandates. So I think policy piece is there on paper, and it just the interlinkages need to be there. So
I wanted to, but I also see that we don't have much time. So, but if you give me 1 minute,
please.
On what Apurva was mentioning, I remembered a study that I did long back for UNICEF. The title of that study was "Why People in Rural India Do Not Demand Safe Drinking Water." Okay. So it was a study it was a pan-India study. We selected few samples and we went out to kind of understand why there is no demand, because the reason why the study was done was one of the wash specialists at that time. He went to some place in Rajasthan and there was a people lining up for gathering water, and just around 300 meters from there, there was this pipeline which was passing through for drinking water, and there was a breach, and water was gushing out. So one, that was drinking water that was being carried to the city, and water was being wasted, and people were forming a line. So he's why people are not even agitated, and why they are not. So there were a lot of aspects, but one of the thing was the definition of safe drinking water as per rural population was water it should look clean, it should not have any odor, and it is it does not taste any salty, or it should taste fine. So there's no awareness of, and there is no Hindi word for safe. There is no colloquial word for safe drinking water. So safe drinking water is something that WHO defines as, okay, this is what we consider safe drinking water, but there is no concept of safe in India. Similarly, when we talk about nutrition, there is no concept of nutrition. If you go and talk to people, for them, nutrition means they have rice and whatever they can eat, which can fill them.
Yeah.
If they are full, they consider that as, okay, work done. So the concept of nutrition itself is not there. And therefore, if we have to work on consumer awareness, it is going to be a very, very long work. Health, we are all aware of health, but so you go and buy vegetable from wherever it is available. Now, nobody will question whether that and how that is being produced and how that is coming. We can talk about it. So, just a thought that came from there. It is a challenge. It requires a lot of work, behavioral change, communication, and and in the entire food system. So I just wanted to make that point. I'm sorry, I don't want to take any more time from you.
Yeah, that's an important point. Yeah. So thank you so much, the panelists, and thank you so much, you all. May I request Dr. Supreet to please come and deliver a vote of thanks? Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. And I would not like to, stand in between you and lunch. So very briefly, I would like to highlight that as we are coming to the conclusion, it becomes very important to reflect some of the takeaways and connect it with the Nutrition for Growth Summit, which is happening very soon. I think by the end of this month it is happening. So how we can take the, consultation today to broad three buckets of N4G, which are like health slash nutrition, other is food, and then resilience. So when we see the today's discussion, a very impressive presentation by Shri Patel ji, which mentions that how the whole importance of integrating nutrition and then climate and then layering it with the agricultural interventions which are happening at the ground level. And he also mentioned that every drop counts, and then that drop needs to be connected to the crop. So that gives us the understanding that from the government side how important it is to understand the environment, climate, and the agriculture piece together. Following up on that, the presentation under the health bucket, which we can say is from Dr. Lakshmi Durga ji, which highlights the multi-sectoral partnerships and how important they are at ground level. And we have seen that the magic is really happening at the ground level, and how the work at the Andhra Pradesh is taking the community managed natural farming aspects to the next levels. The next bucket is food, and we have we all agree that food system must not be only nutrition sensitive; it has to be the climate sensitive to cater to the present demand. And a very impressive session by Dr. Sungadha on empowering women in food system is I think has taken everyone shaken, and see the how women at the ground level are actually making changes. And likewise, the panel today is very, a best practices collation, and how innovations at each aspect of private or public or everyone together are making changes and helping us in, rethinking and unpacking various interventions which are happening. The last bucket is resilience, and we all agree that food system is not just about climate adaptation; it's also about building equity, sustainability, economic stability. So it becomes the backbone of and becomes cross-cutting across the food systems approach. And I would like you and encourage everyone to go with the thought that for today's learning, it's about strengthening the partnership, championing the innovations, and also pushing the policies for making our food system both climate resilient and nutrition sensitive. So I, on behalf of, again, would like to thank all the speakers, panelists, and each one of you to participate and provide your valuable insights. And also a special appreciation to the organizing team, Drishti, Devjani, and everyone, Dr. Smriti, of course, for their hard work and, curating this important session together for us. And let's together continue to derive the impact of healthier, well-nourished, and climate-resilient India. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
And before we break for lunch, I think we should have a group picture, everybody. So can we all come near the stage and somebody organize us height wise and color wise and everything?
Color, gender, balance सब देख लेना बेटा.
Hello.